Welcome to the Board of Trustees, Village Buchanan Board of Trustees, regular meeting, Tuesday, January 4th, 2022. This meeting is being conducted in accordance with Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021. Please note that this meeting will be held only by Zoom. So first, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, if I can. You all ready? Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, everyone, thank you. Okay, so first we're going to start with the approval of the minutes of November 23rd, 2021 workshop meeting. Do I have any corrections or comments on this?
I have none.
None.
Okay, and I wasn't at this meeting, so on a motion to approve.
So moved. Motion to accept the minutes as recorded.
Okay, second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. Comments from the floor, agenda items only. Do we have any comments? Marcus, and please let me know. Sometimes I miss it. If somebody has their hand up, I don't always know.
Yes, there's one hand up.
Okay.
Bring her on.
Sure.
Yeah, it's an older version. Can I do that? Okay, Laura, you're on. You can speak.
Oh, hi, good evening. Oh, I was just shut off. Hello?
Hello.
Yep.
Oh, can you
We
hear
hear
me?
you. We hear you.
Okay. So my concern is about this ice skating rink.
Okay.
I had heard several months ago about it,
Mhm.
but I was wondering, I had several questions about this, such as who's going to be funding it? Where's the money coming from for this ice skating rink?
The ice skating rink is coming through a grant from Entergy. So it's no taxpayer dollars are involved with the purchase of the ice skating rink.
Okay, and may I ask, why is it being put towards use for an ice skating rink then?
I had the opportunity to get grant money from Entergy, and I've been working on getting an ice skating rink here in the village since 2014. I thought it might be a nice thing for the children here in the village. They can no longer skate on Lake Meehaw, nor can they skate in our pavilion. And it was one of the nice things when I was growing up as a kid that, you know, we had an ice skating rink here for the kids.
Okay,
And the big kids too, and the big kids.
I well understand that,
Okay.
but
Mhm.
as a parent and a resident,
Okay.
for several years now, you know, our one playground that we have has
Okay.
been in such disrepair.
Okay.
It is beyond the point of, I mean, hardly anybody uses it. Maybe I'm lucky because I can walk to it and occasionally, but there's a reason hardly any children use the playground.
Mhm.
And for something that, you know, that I feel so strongly about, a playground is the only one we have in our entire village.
Mhm.
And I understand, okay, you know, an ice skating rink. Now, is it going to be the kind that is removable?
Yes. Mhm.
Okay, so my other concern is that also that we are hardly allowed to use our pavilion. It's always under lock. And the only time it seems is during the summertime when camp is in session or somebody rents out the space. We have basketball courts in there that my children and others I know would love to use.
Mhm. I
But
thought
again,
that the direction was
all
to, the direction was, Lori, and this was a while back, is that the pavilion was left open during the day. The highway department would open it and then the police department would close it at dusk. So I don't think
Well,
any of us were aware that that was not happening.
I think a lot of us were aware that didn't happen
Okay.
because we live here, we've lived here, we're gonna be living here 11 years. That's long enough to know if something like that was taking place. And the other thing is, who's going to be keeping an eye on this? Who is going to oversee the safety? Are we gonna hire people that are going to sit there at a booth and make, I mean, is it, and the other big thing is it open to village residents only?
That's something the board would have to discuss. You know, that is the final discussion, but the recreation supervisor would be overseeing it. And there will, you know, I'll let Nancy speak, what her thoughts are on this.
Right.
Because she's, you know, she's our recreation supervisor and she would be in
Sure.
charge
I
of
mean,
dog running.
but is it gonna be open to outside residents? What is the actual plan? Because I feel like there's no set plan. You know, I just think that, I mean, it's wonderful that our village got this grant money and all, but I mean, it doesn't, as a personally, I don't know if many people have spoken or raised concerns about an ice skating rink, but like I said, we have one playground. I would love to see our only playground get fixed. I mean, Michael was 2 years old and it broke the playground. It's very, you know, it's our only playground, and the money that our village has or grants, to me, I think children personally would get more use out of a playground.
Okay. Lori, you know, this is the first time I'm hearing this about our playground. So I'm sorry, you know.
It's the first time you're hearing about our playground?
No, I
Yeah, what's
know,
wrong with the
I know
playground?
we have a playground, but I didn't know there were any issues. I realized we have a playground there because I've asked during the beginning of the year that we have new chips put there for, you know, on the base of the, I didn't realize we needed to
Teresa,
do.
Nancy's on. Nancy can address
Nancy, could you,
both
if
questions.
you'd like
Yeah.
to speak? Sure.
Yeah, I have no idea what's wrong with the playground. The slides are fine, the steps are fine. It's not in disrepair.
It is. I'm sorry. I really disagree with you because I know several people who've written to the village years ago and who raised concerns about our playground, the equipment there. And it really isn't safe because some parts are missing. And I can remember when my son was about 2 years old, there was a part of the playground, the walkway on, you know, and it's been broken. It was never fixed. It was like a window is beautiful. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we let it go. You know, it's like it's been forgotten. We've done other things in our village, you know, but we haven't done anything. If you're trying to do this for the children, you keep talking about the children, this is who it's for. Well, then let's think about the children of the village, you know, let's think about them, you know. I mean, ice skating is fun. It's a great, I don't disagree. It's a great extracurricular activity. It can be fun, but I feel like, you know, I mean, it sounds like a set deal and that's fine, but where's the fine print and how it's going to be handled?
Okay,
I mean,
we're going to discuss that. Yeah. But you know, Nancy, I'm sorry, but we do have recreation funds. So, you know, that might be something, you know, the board can discuss, and maybe we can get a committee of some of the mothers in the village, because if, you know, you're the ones with the children and, you know, it's, you know, what would you like to see? So maybe we can use those recreation funds to redo that playground.
Right. I mean,
Well,
I'd be,
I'd like to know what's wrong with it. First of all, what's broken?
I mean,
besides-
there's parts of the swing that are very unsafe. I mean, honestly, has anybody recently walked around it?
all the slides are fine. I've been back there.
Have you sat on any of them? Have you
Yes.
swung on any of them?
Not
Nancy,
this week.
really?
Laura, when we're back there for camp, for example, the only thing that I see, and we do a daily check on the park, are the tables. Some of them, because the kids and people who hang out there when they're not supposed to be hanging out there, have chipped off little pieces of the benches or the tables, but not the playground itself. Bobby, I know that you go back there every once in a while when you redid the chips and everything. Have you seen that the slides are broken or anything?
I'm not aware of any slides being broken. The only part that I'm aware that there's an issue with is there was a tunnel that had a plexiglass window on it that
Right.
was shattered, which we removed so it would be safe. And we cannot relocate original part for that. We've been working on that I've been working on it for a couple of years. I can't find a part to replace that with. As far
Right.
as the swings and
But
things
there's
like
nothing,
that, I
yeah,
haven't
they're
seen
fine.
anything wrong.
Okay.
Right. And even the part that you
If
took
I'm
off,
missing it, please let me know. We'll address it.
right, even the part that you took off is cleaned and there's no sharp edges or anything on that. The
Yeah,
glass
Bob
that
has- Bob has a back- Bob has
I
a
know that for a
back
fact. There's nothing
I
sharp
think
out
Bob
there.
froze there.
Oh, okay.
Your image
Right.
froze, Bob. Can I comment?
Sure.
Well, Laura, I appreciate you bringing up those points. It's all very valid. When I first heard about the idea of a skating rink, it sounded nuts to me. But I've looked at the company's website, and it's actually pretty amazing. I'm not, we do have to figure out when it's going to be open, who can use it. It's a portable thing that snaps together, and from the videos I've watched online, it looks like you could even set it up in front of the Village Hall on Tate Avenue and have a skating Sunday event where you close the street for, to be determined based on how long it takes to set up. It just needs a flat surface, and I'm thinking, how can you skate on something that's not ice? But the videos, if you want to look at the website, it's pretty cool. It's called Quick Rink with a K, KWIKRINK.
Mm-hmm.
Synthetic ice is the name of the product. And they show some of the videos and stuff. I think it could be a really nice thing to have. But I wholeheartedly agree with you on the playground. I've brought it up, more than once, that I'd like to see our rec fund money used for a new playground at Len's Cove.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the playground being broken and making a new playground, which that's fine.
I agree. I would like to see a playground at
Our
Len's Cove
playground is
because
not broken.
I think if a good playground will get used. They put in a nice playground at George's Island last year, with a nice soft surface and just, very kind of funky. The kids love it. When the weather's right, there's always people there with kids, always. Have you seen that one, Nancy?
Yeah, I'm down there all the time. I love the surface that they put down there.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So, the rec fund money, we have it sitting there, and it's meant to expand the recreation program. And to me, that would be a great use of it. Of course, we should address any safety concerns if there are any. My only experience with the playground over at the Westchester field is when we've had Buchanan Day or some other event, and it's always packed with kids. I've never been aware of any issue, but certainly it's equipment the kids are using. It should be inspected periodically, and it sounds like it has been. But we could check that. If there's anything that needs to be repaired, we should repair it. But a new playground, I think, at Len's Cove would be great. If you feel that's sort of in line with what you're thinking, and other people that think that way, we'd love to hear from you.
I agree about having an additional playground to our village. I agree about Len's Cove, but it really, in all actuality, we already have a space, the pavilion, that kids can't get into.
Mm-hmm.
The kids have a basketball courts they can't use.
Yeah, excuse me.
All of a sudden we're going to have an ice skating rink that's going to be usable. After they'll say they take the rink out, let's say it's seasonal,
Right.
it's removed. Will children be able to go back into the pavilion then? And will it be opened again to residents at least?
Can I just interrupt on that a second? The pavilion is supposed to be open in the morning and closed at the end of the afternoon or at dusk. And I brought this up at a meeting about 2-3 months ago, and I was told that we would check on that. And Marcus, did we have any? I think that was communicated, was it not?
It's been open since that meeting. It's been open for months.
Okay, so since that point.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but that is not true, because my father-in-law had tried taking my son several times to get into the pavilion and use the basketball courts, because he's starting in the town of Cortland basketball league. And, and that's not true. I'm sorry to differ, but it's the truth. They could not get in. The gates were locked. This was during the week. So maybe if it's occasionally opened, can there be set hours as residents? Can there be a sign up and say, these are the hours the pavilion is open then? Because that's not true.
Bob is online. Bob has assured me that's been open for the last couple of months. Bob?
Excuse me. Can you hear me?
You're cutting in and
You're
out, Bob.
breaking up, Bob, breaking up.
His connection is pretty bad, but Bob
Yeah.
just informed me it has been open for months, but you can double check tomorrow. It should be open.
Okay, I'll hold you to it. If my kids, if I try to open the gate, I'll try to do that tomorrow. Absolutely, because I know from several experiences and several times over the last few months, nobody could get in. That's all.
I have a
Laura,
question.
could you call the
allowed-
village office if you see that happening? Could you call the ladies at the village
Yes.
office and then they can call somebody?
Also, I have a question about the pavilion. Isn't it getting fixed? Are we not supposed to not be under there right
Well,
now?
we're discussing that. We're discussing that tonight because we've waited 3 years, almost
Yeah.
3 years for that to happen. So Laura, if there is construction, which, you know, we got a grant to do some.
Oh yeah, I
fixing up
heard
there.
about that. Yep.
Yeah, so Marcus, how soon did they say they could start?
Waiting for some legal documentation to be finished, so we can, as soon as
Okay.
that document's done, they've ordered the materials. As soon as they know, we'll post it on Facebook and we'll let everybody know.
Okay. All right, so it'll be
Well,
done
we
by
should,
spring.
we should work at keeping a regular schedule, as
Sure.
Laura said. You know, it's nice to have it predictable. If it's an emergency and somebody can't get there, it's a different story. But on a day-to-day basis, it should be opened
Mhm.
at a certain time and closed at a certain time.
Mhm.
And we should have a sign ready to go outside saying, until, due to repairs, the pavilion will be closed until further notice, or for 3
Right.
months or 2 months, whatever it is, you know. But we
Mhm.
should keep everybody informed.
Right. Okay.
And I kind of felt bad for the school because because of COVID, they wanted to use it. And we've just been waiting for this construction to start. And we're thinking, you know, it's starting. And I know they had asked to use it in September.
Mhm.
So, yeah, they liked using it because just to keep the kids separate, but most importantly was getting the kids outside. So I know they've been walking around the village, not the village, but behind the highway department. I've seen them back there walking around. So hopefully by spring, this construction is done and we can get back to some type of a normal schedule.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you.
And Laura, would you be willing to be on a committee looking into a new playground? And if you know some other mothers that might be interested?
Or
that
to
we
even
can-
playground?
Yeah, if the board decides
Mhm.
that they would like to use the recreation money to perhaps put something down at Lens Cove, you know, that's a possibility.
Right.
Or if, you know, looking at this playground, if it's felt that, you know, there needs to be an additional apparatus or something put in that area, you know, that's a possibility too. But, you know, at the next workshop, if the board would like to discuss that.
I think that would be helpful.
Sounds
mean-
good.
Yeah, sounds good.
Would you be willing to drive over to Lens Cove, Laura, or, you know, because I mean, you have you have the perfect opportunity right there. You're so close to the one behind the highway department.
Right. I mean, I could drive to Lynn Cove.
Okay, yeah,
Doing it, but it's nice, you know, I mean, it's nice to put an additional one up, but why not fix what we already have too? I mean, whatever cost efficient, I guess, makes
Okay.
sense. But it's nice that, I mean, there could be beautiful things done at Lens Cove.
sure.
It could be,
Absolutely.
it really could be beautiful over there. It could be.
Mhm.
Nice, yeah.
That's Nick's baby, Lens Cove.
Yeah, just at the last meeting, we need a plan for Lens Cove. And we're in the works on getting a paddle sport dock installed there, pulling out the old broken up concrete where the boat launch was. That's in the works. Waiting for some DEC approvals, but it's in the works. It's in the process.
Okay.
Parking
Okay.
lot's the parking lot's a
Huh.
big nut to crack. It's such a mess and so expensive to do anything there, but other things could be done there. There's plenty of space.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
All right, is there any other hands raised, comments from the floor? on agenda items only? Is this Laura's hand still, or is this someone else,
Yeah,
Marcus?
yes, Laura. Yeah, there's nobody else.
No,
Okay.
Eileen Absinger has her hand raised.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought I saw
Oh, there
somebody
goes
else.
Eileen. Let me let her talk. Hold on. Okay, Eileen, unmute yourself.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Laura, don't forget, if there is construction there, tell Grandpa to take Michael down to Mihua Park because they have basketball courts down there.
Oh, yeah, they did.
Oh, yeah, they've been there. Yep. Michael's been there. Yep.
Okay, so if there is construction, that's another option not too far away.
Right.
Marcus, I have a question regarding the playground. Is there any mandate that states there has to be an outside company to inspect that periodically or yearly or anything of that nature? I'm not taking away what the highway department can see, but these people come in. I have a client who inspects playgrounds at schools and municipal facilities, and she is specifically trained to look for certain things. So I don't know if that's a mandate or if that's just up to the municipality, the school districts, or something of that nature.
I don't believe there's any mandate, but definitely our insurance company, I can ask them to come and do an inspection of it for a safety inspection. So I'll give them a call tomorrow based on the discussion tonight, and I'll ask them to take an inspection of the playground and come back with any recommendations. I'll report back.
Okay.
To the board.
Maybe that's
Okay.
something that needs to be done on a yearly basis too, maybe in the spring before the kids start using the playground again, you know?
You know that for camp, the inspector does go back and look.
Oh, okay.
Okay, because
Where's the inspector from, Nancy?
Department of Health.
Okay.
Department of Health. Okay,
So once a year,
Okay.
there's somebody there.
Yeah, they look. And twice a year, they look at us, they watch us. They don't go
Okay,
back,
thank you.
and look deep, but they do go back and look.
All right, well, these people that do this specifically for playgrounds are looking
Yeah.
at everything. So that's the only reason I didn't know if it was mandated or if it's an option that the municipality or schools have. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good question, Eileen. Thank you. Okay, anyone else? Okay. Under new business, I'd like to add on the letter O. We are going to this evening approve a change order for the pavilion work. There's been some increase in costs naturally. We've been waiting to get everything lined up and get this going. So it's almost 3 years now. So there has been some increase in cost. So I'd like to add that onto O. Under new business, consider a motion to open the public hearing overriding the New York State property tax cap.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
thank you. Okay, this is something we do every year because we haven't even started the budget yet, and we want to make sure if we have to go over the tax cap, which is 2%, or the rate of inflation, whichever is less. So we want to make sure that each year that we can, at least if we have to, override the tax cap. And with the last couple of years, with the closure of Indian Point, it's been difficult to get to the 2%. So like I said, this is something we do every year. So I would like to, I open the public hearing. Okay. Board members, does anyone have any comments on this?
Well, I think that, with the large amount of revenue we've lost from from Entergy and the pilot agreement, we're at a point where we're getting less than half of what we used to get. So, but I think we've taken the biggest hits, and hopefully our increase this year can be kept to a minimum, but we do have to do this as a precaution. And in the past, the tax cap actually came out usually to be 1.5% or so, because the inflation rate was so low. With the inflation rate being higher now, perhaps the actual cap will not. I don't know if the inflation rate is 3 or 4%. Will the tax cap be based on that, or is 2% the maximum?
Whichever is less.
It's whichever is less,
Yeah, we'll be capped at 2% or the rate of inflation, whichever is less.
whichever is less.
Yeah,
Okay.
with
So
some
then,
exceptions.
so most likely it will be 2% this year. Yeah.
Okay, and then Nick, also remember, we were very fortunate to become an intervener in the sale of Entergy to Holtec. And the monies that we were able to get out of Holtec was $1.2 million, which will be going into this next budget, starting the June
Yep.
1st budget. So that gives us some surety and will help somewhat. Also, we had gotten other things out of Holtec, and I think that was a huge win for the village. What we had gotten in the intervener and a short pilot for a year. If not, we would have been in a little precarious position because we would be really trying to hammer out some type of an agreement with them, and they would have had the upper edge. And also, I know, and I think it was in Plymouth when they had settled with them. And I always laugh at this because I just shake my head. Holtec had offered trees. So we were not interested in trees. We were looking for some type of financial security. So fortunately for this next budget, the 1.2 million that we were able to negotiate will help us with this next budget. Any other comments for the cap? Okay, the audience does anybody else have anything with the property tax levy?
No hands are raised.
Okay. All right. So I'd like to make a motion to close the public hearing.
So
Make a
moved.
motion to close the public hearing.
Yes.
Second.
Yep, we're talking about that for the New York State property tax cap. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Okay, whereas the state legislature and the governor enacted legislation that establishes a property tax levy cap on the amount that a local government's property tax levy can increase each year. And whereas under this law, the total amount to be raised through property taxes charged on the municipality's taxable assessed value of property will be capped at 2% or the rate of inflation, whichever is less, with some exceptions. And whereas the state legislation provides for local governments to override the cap to protect the village from unforeseen financial circumstances, and whereas state legislation requires that in the event that an override is necessary, the law enabling it must already have been adopted by the Board of Trustees. And whereas local law introductory number 1 of 2022 has been drafted to override the property tax levy cap law enacted by state legislature is necessary. And whereas a public hearing was held and closed on January 4th, 2022, now therefore be resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby adopts local law number 1, 2022 to override the property tax levy cap law enacted by state legislature. Be it further resolved that the village clerk be and hereby is directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting and in the local law book of the Village of Buchanan, and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law to the Secretary of the State of New York. So on a motion,
So moved.
So moved.
second,
Second,
all in favor?
on the question.
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't do on a question. Yes, sir, on a question.
Sorry, I just want to let the public know that municipalities and school districts go by different rules when it comes to the property tax cap. When the property tax cap law was enacted around 10 years ago, it allowed school districts to include bond repayment in their property tax cap. Municipalities are strictly forbidden from that. So we are going to have to pay back our bonds within the tax cap, which we're going to probably exceed, where school districts can pay it back and pass it along. So if you see your budget increase or your taxes increase by your school district greater than 2%, it's because they're paying back bond repayment. So I don't want people to get confused between the two tax bills. And they can't pass override of the tax cap by resolution like we can. They have to have a measure by the voters. So just because municipalities can do it, school districts can't. That was my only thing. I just didn't want people to get confused.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So we have, the next thing is, I'd like to make a motion to open the public hearing, authorizing adoption of local law amending chapter 181 entitled Taxation to the Code of the Village of Buchanan, and to add an exemption for members of the volunteer fire department and ambulance corps.
So moved.
Second,
Second,
all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Okay, this is something we have discussed before. I'm just going to do a very brief overview on it. So under the New York real property tax law, an exemption of 10% of the assessed value of residential property owned by the eligible person is hereby granted with respect to village taxes. The exemption shall not apply to special assessments. Such exemption shall be granted to an enrolled member of an incorporated volunteer fire company or fire department or any volunteer ambulance corps, only if the member has certified by the authority having jurisdiction or the fire chief of the incorporated fire company or fire department as an enrolled member of such incorporated fire company or fire department for at least 5 years. The member resides in the village of Buchanan. The property is located in Village of Buchanan. The property is used exclusively for residential purposes. And if it's a property that is half their residence and half like a rental, then it's only the residential property of the person. For volunteer firefighters, the area served by the volunteer fire company does not encompass any area served by a fire company having 5 or more professional firefighters. The eligibility accrues more than 20 years of active service and is so certified by the authority having jurisdiction or the fire chief shall be granted the 10% exemption as authorized by this article for the remainder of his or her life. If the volunteer is permanently disabled due to the exercise of his or her duties as such firefighter or ambulance worker and who is therefore prevented from being certified as an active service member shall be entitled to the annual certification during the period of his or her disability. The application for the volunteer firefighter ambulance corps exemption shall be filed with the assessor or other agency, department, or office designee by the municipality offering the exemption. And this local law, I'll add this in later when it takes effect. So this is something that the board is considering. It's our local fire department, our volunteers. It's not always easy to get volunteers. So this is a thank you really for them, and also the ambulance corps. And Stephanie, that was a question I had to ask you. Since we do not have an ambulance corps, does this affect anybody who lives in the village, owns property in the village that is with CVAC?
With CVAC, which is where?
It's Cortland Volunteer Ambulance Corps. They're in Montrose.
Good question. I'll look around it. I'll look for it for you. I put it in there primarily because rather than amending it at some later date, if you had a volunteer ambulance corps as part of your fire department or otherwise, they'd be covered.
Okay.
That's why it was originally put in.
Okay, and I think I have some questions here too. Do we know how many properties that this would pertain to? Because what I'm understanding, it's not just active members we're looking at. This is the total members of the fire department. So could I just get some clarification on that?
I'll try to get that information for the board. I'll get that list. I know I was working with the assessor on that, and I know we have a list of people, but we can double check between the town and the village and give you what the potential might be.
Okay, so it's not just active members, so that has to be clarified.
Well, the statute's clear that they do not use the word active when you're talking about, and I think it's specific, just an enrolled member. Later, if you look at 20 years of active service, they use the word active. And so, I don't know why the legislature passed it this way. I've looked at other jurisdictions that have passed it, and they also mimic what the law says. I can only assume that perhaps the reason they didn't do that is because then you're leaving it to your department to determine who's active and who's not. And some might say, well, you're active if you do 100 calls or 20% of your calls or whatever, and others might not. And so then you're sort of at the mercy of your particular department. I also looked at, the governor just passed this for a different county. And there's actually legislation on the governor's desk right now from Harcum, just to make any member of any volunteer department in Westchester, because it was really convoluted. There were some areas that said if you had 130,000 residents, 100,000 residents, 80,000, he's just saying, look, get rid of the numbers. I'm sure she'll sign it. But if you look at, all the accolades, they're basically saying, look, we want to thank anybody who comes out and volunteers. We need them. We're thankful for them. And they work for free at all times of the day and night. And this is kind of a thank you. So I can't find anywhere where they want us to say what's active and who determines that. So it's curious. And that's the best I can explain. I did look it up. I did try to search around for why that might be. And they chose not to use the word active there.
Okay.
And Teresa, the town has application forms, so I can get, and what the requirements are, so I can get Tom to get us a copy of that as well. The people, that way you
Tom,
can-
the assessor.
Yeah, I'll get that for you too.
And just to interrupt briefly, Tom, the assessor, also let Marcus and I know that he would take care, obviously, of if we pass this, and then he'll talk to us about who's on the list, and then he'll take care of doing the assessing.
Well, he did come to us and he did present us with a package several months ago. He did state there was only, I believe, 7 or 8 properties that would have been affected. And Marcus, the town of Cortland's firefighter exemption paperwork is not the same as what this resolution says. All right. I don't think that the original legislative intent was to have associate members receive it, but if that's what the intent is, that's not a problem. But I don't think that is what is meant by these rules.
I agree with you. I think the discussion was what's going to be active members, but that's what I thought we discussed when Tom attended the meeting. So let me double check with Tom and I'll get you some more information.
That is what he told us.
Yes, that's what I agree with you.
And when I asked that question at the 2 workshops ago, you guys had said that it was implied that under section 18135, where it says 20 years of active service, that active service covered the eligibility part of it.
A permanent eligibility, it does say that, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, you want to add inactive, we'll add inactive. That's a board decision. We can
You wrote
say,
this, you wrote this based on the state law. If the state law wants
Yeah.
associates to be in there, that's why we have to put associates in there also.
yeah, well, they
So-
don't make a distinction of associates or active, and I did find it curious, I did. I mean, if Tom Wakens knows something I don't know about a statute that's different for villages versus towns, he can feel free to share that. I'm sorry, but I wasn't at the meeting where he presented, so, and I haven't talked to him about it.
Okay, so the 7 or 8 people that would potentially be eligible for this would come off of the LoSAP list?
No, that's totally different list.
Okay, yeah, no, I know it's a different list, but I'm just saying what we're looking at is potentially 7 or 8 properties.
Correct.
So,
LoSAP.
here's my question. Yeah, I know what LoSAP is. We've been discussing it for a while, but Marcus, what my concern is, because we have these questions, are we ready to vote on this evening, or Marcus and Stephanie? Because
Well,
since we have
Teresa, I think you had talked about putting this on the ballot in March, correct?
Yes.
And so, you certainly don't have to do that tonight if you would like further information. I can tell you that the only thing I can tell you is that I looked up the law, I looked up other jurisdictions, I went through some of the legislative intent. I cannot figure out why they would use for permanent eligibility active and not use it under regular eligibility, but they don't. So I'm not saying you can't do that if that's how you want to do it, but I guess we should define what's active and talk to your fire department about who they determine is active. Because everybody kind of has, I mean, I know up in Somers, what they do is they have bylaws and they determine who's active. And if you're not active in a year or 2, they drop you from the rolls. Therefore, you wouldn't be getting this 10%, right? Because they drop you from the rolls, they're determining you're not active. I don't know what Buchanan does.
Yeah, Stephanie, when he presented the town, the fire departments provide Tom with an active list, and that's what he updates on the row every year. So you could be active one year and not active the other. So he goes through that list. So that's what he presented. But I don't know if you can vote on it pending additional changes, clarification. I don't know if you want to get it on the ballot, we got to get this adopted tonight, I think, in order to get on the ballot. That's what I believe. Cindy, is that correct? I don't know if Cindy remember.
I'm confused. There's nothing in this resolution about a referendum. And the resolution is the adoption of the exemption. There's nothing here that says permissive referendum or mandatory referendum. It's just a resolution. And if I'm
Yeah,
not
it said
mistaken, that's
the-
what the law says. And we've never discussed that. And nor does this resolution say it's going on the ballot.
Well,
That's
the
what I was
local
gonna-
law, sorry, the local law at the end says when effective. So
Yeah.
it would either be you guys can choose to put it on, or we have to wait for a permissive referendum. And I thought we had discussed, I know I've discussed with the mayor about, I thought we all said,
We
let them
discussed
vote,
it,
you know,
that
put
this
it
was
on the
gonna-
ballot,
yeah.
let everybody vote. That's what I
Yeah.
thought the
Because
consensus
it has
was.
under 180, 138, one effective, this local law shall take effect immediately upon filing with the Office of the Secretary of State following either the last day to file a petition, March 1st, or its approval by the majority of qualified voters voting therein on the general Village of Buchanan election to be held on March 15, 2022. So I know we had this discussion and it's not in the resolution. I was going to add that, but I know we had the discussion about putting it on the ballot. So I mean, that's up to the board if they would, that's up to the board. I think, I think maybe the residents should have an opportunity to vote on it.
Well, does the law require that it be put in the general election, or is it a permissive referendum? That's
Permissive
required.
referendum, but you guys had said that you wanted people to vote, because I specifically wrote that down on both this one and the games
Yeah,
of chance. You said,
I
let's
wanna-
let them vote,
Right. Yeah,
which is
I
why I
mean,
wrote it that way, but I did give you the chance to say, you know what, if you don't want to let them vote, you don't vote tonight, they have till March 1st to file a petition for the permissive referendum.
well, I think the question that for me that I understood this to be for active members. And I also want to point out that it's a 10% reduction in the assessment. So that means if you're currently paying $1,000 in taxes, you'll get $100 off. If you're currently paying $2,000 in taxes, you'll get 10%, $200
That's true,
off.
Nick. It comes off your assessed value.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
taxes
but
are
the
based
tax-
on a
but-
dollar value per assessed value. So if your assessed value is $10,000,
Yes,
then your assessed value will be $9,000. Then the $365 per assessed thousand is your tax bill. So it's not a
Yes,
direct
same
correlation.
thing.
No, it's
Same
not.
thing, Sean. It's 10%.
Okay.
Because if you're, whatever the tax rate is per thousand, of course, determines how much you pay, but it's still, you'll be paying 90% of what you ordinarily would have been paying. That's how the math works.
Okay.
Whether you take the 10% off your total tax bill, or you take it off the assessment and charge the rate per thousand on 9,000 instead of 10,000, using your example, it's still 10% that you're getting a reduction in. That's the math. So you're talking about, for the average assessment, you're talking about somewhere around $200 for the average assessment. Some people might be more, some people might be less. If we're talking about I mean, I thought it seems to me it should be more, but if we're talking about 8 people, then we're talking about, a couple of $1,000 a year that it costs the village. And it's a volunteer fire department, people that do a lot for us, and whatever little things we can do to recognize them, I think would be good. So I think I need to get clarification on, now that we're raising it, on whether it is just active members or not. And, I'd be fine with this anyway. I don't think, it's not like we're expending, a lot of money. I mean, I guess that's relative, but we're not spending a fortune where I feel uncomfortable as a board making the decision. But I'd also be very happy to let the the village vote on it and let it be a show of support. I can't imagine why people, if we'd have to clarify what the amounts we're talking about are, but I think I think it's going to pass either way.
So my only, it doesn't specifically say active here.
No, it says enrolled, which is what the
Enrolled.
statute, which is what the law says, right?
Yes.
So I don't, if Tom Wakens has something else, I'd be happy to hear it.
Yeah, Tom did say there was only active members, so I don't want to postpone the vote to the next meeting, and I'll get Tom to clarify that if you wish. Or you can adopt it tonight and modify it if something's different next, whatever the board wants to do. But I can get the information from Tom tomorrow.
I think we need some clarification here. I would like to put this on the ballot, but I really think we need a little more clarification.
Okay, I'll get it for everybody tomorrow.
Is everybody good with that, or?
Well, I asked that same question the last time we discussed this, because I wrote it on a draft resolution.
Okay.
Yeah, you did. And I looked it up as far as I could find in the law. It uses enrolled member. It does not use active. I cannot find that anywhere in this specific law, which gives us the authority to do this. So, I don't know where Tom's coming from. I'd like to hear it.
Well, so either way, we need to know the total number of people that this pertains to right now. And it does require that you're a volunteer for at least 5 years before you start getting it. So it's not like suddenly 100 people could sign up because they want to get that exemption right off the bat.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure about that, Nick.
Well, you have to be a volunteer for 5 years before you get it. So it's not like you could just go put your name on a list and instantly get the 10% off your taxes.
Okay, I'd like to put it out to the public. Does anyone have any comments on this? Any members of the audience?
No hands are raised.
Somebody has a chat line opened up. Are they
Okay.
trying to talk to us, or?
See where the chat is.
Oh,
right.
that was a Wilder regarding about the inspection of the playground.
No,
Okay, I think
no,
that's,
it's Isabella Lane has a chat line open.
Oh, I don't see.
yeah, I don't see it.
Go to attendees.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she just unclicked. Must have
Okay,
heard her name.
okay, okay. All right, so I'd like to make a motion to adjourn this, this public hearing in reference to the exemption for members of volunteer fire departments and ambulance corps. On a motion,
So moved.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
I
Aye.
Okay, now we're going into, I'd like to make a motion. Whoops, we have another public hearing here. A motion to open the public hearing, authorizing adoption of a local law, adding chapter 100 entitled Games of Chance, to the Code of the Village of Buchanan to allow licensing games of chance within the Village of Buchanan. On a motion,
So moved.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so how this came about, the St. Christopher's Church approached the board. They wanted to have a game of chance to raise money. They wanted to have a car raffle, and the dollar amount on it was approximately $35,000. And we don't have a local law that would allow that. Stephanie, if you want to go into the town and how this all unfolded, because I know you were very involved in this, if you'd like to just review for everyone.
Okay, the town of Cortland has an ordinance from way back when, I think in the 70s. I don't know when it was. I don't have it in
76.
front of me. What'd you say?
76.
Okay.
I saw it
And
in
so
tape
what
somewhere.
the law allows us to do is if you're a village within a town that has an ordinance or a local law allowing games of chance, then we by resolution can adopt the games of chance local law, and we can allow them to do the permitting process. So what most people think is that the town does the licensing. The town was really clear because we spoke with them The gaming commission does the licensing. All the town does is the permitting. But what the town does is to make sure that the people that come before them have been given a license by the New York State Gaming Commission. And so then the town would issue the permit. And that's pretty much what this would be. So you're allowing it. There's tons of research and laws you can read up on about these games, but the town made it really clear that they're very good about when they give the permit. It's not, hey, do whatever you want for a year. It's like a night, it's a raffle, it's one night of bingo. They said, their seniors do it there, that kind of thing. And that she would keep in contact with us, probably Marcus and or Cindy, with respect, obviously, to when somebody comes for this, to let us at least know that it's happening and what they found. But they do the background check, and they don't issue a permit unless there's a license. She said the state is really pretty strict about who they give these licenses to. They do all kinds of background checks. And so I'm thinking that, that covers our bases if this is what you want to allow in the village.
This would include bingo. This would include not only St. Christopher's Church, but any other nonprofit would be able to
The
do
fire
it some type of-
department. Yeah.
Okay, the fire department too. Okay.
Charitable organizations like the church.
Okay.
And there's very specific rules which they have to comply with when they fill out all of their, they can't keep any of the profits. There's all sorts of rules. But the gaming, according to the woman up at the town, she's been doing this for 20 years, and she said they're very strict about who they allow and who they don't. And then when she gives the permit, she checks with us. She lets us know that there'll be this going on and for how long the permit is for. They have to display the permit, so people know. It's pretty regulated.
Okay.
So I know you wanted to do it because the church wanted it. I can't see that this is going to be some kind of, everyday occurrence, but.
Well, the law states that you can only conduct games no more than 12 times in any calendar year. So it's not like an open license to play bingo every night.
No, it's not.
Is anybody aware of any other charitable organizations in the village other than the churches and the volunteer fire department?
Can't think of anything.
I mean, I don't know, if there's any gray area here. Like, I know there's a food pantry in Verplank. Obviously, that's not Buchanan, but if we had a volunteer food pantry, would they be eligible? If they were you have to be registered as a, what is it, a 501c? Nonprofit, is that a 501c?
Yes.
What about the Buchanan Beautification Committee? Could they do it?
Any nonprofit can file for a license.
Nonprofit.
All right, any nonprofit can have a gambling night as long as the games of chance are approved by New York State. So it's not any game whatsoever. There are different reporting criteria for a different amount of funds that are brought in. There is different forms you have to fill out if you're over $30,000. There's a ton of different things, but it comes down to any charitable organization can apply to have anything. And technically, you're supposed to have a license to sell raffle tickets that has a combination over a certain dollar value. All right, so there's all different rules and regulations, but it comes down to, you don't have to be a property owner. You just have to be a charitable organization.
And I think that's why the church came to us, because the dollar amount was 35,000. I think it reached that criteria at that point. So, we know, the church has some type of an event, and they do little raffle tickets to, for whatever they're raffling products and things like that. So,
Well,
but that's
The actual wording is any authorized organization means and includes any bona fide religious or charitable organization or bona fide educational, fraternal, or service organization, or bona fide organization of veterans or volunteer firemen that by its charter, certificate of incorporation, constitution, or act of the legislature shall have among its dominant purposes, one or more of the following purposes. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it has to do with the, the service and charity. So that includes educational, fraternal, or service organizations. And it makes me think that there could be other organizations that this would pertain to.
Well, then the school would be able to, the BV school.
That's according to this, yeah.
Okay.
Bona fide educational is one of, yeah.
Okay. All right. And whoever's the public, is there anyone that has any comments on this this proposed law of game of chance?
No hands raised.
No hands raised. Okay.
Somebody has a chat open though. What's the difference between a chat and an open hand raise, Marcus?
Yeah, they you can pick a little icon and you can actually raise your hand and you'll see it next to the person's name under the attendees.
Yeah. Oh, my mistake. I had it in the wrong spot. There was my cursor actually.
Oh, no problem, no problem.
My mistake.
And then the chat, just like what Awilda did, she
I
just
got
texted in a quick little question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd like to add one thing. I mean, I was looking at the New York State Gaming Commission. There's like 40 some odd pages laying out all the terms and details of this law, of the state law. But one of the things is that maximum of 12 events per year. And it also says games shall be conducted only, it gives you the hours. Games shall only be conducted between the hours of noon and midnight on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and only between the hours of noon on Friday and 2 a.m. Saturday. Saturday, you can go till 2 in the morning Sunday. It does not allow, except as provided in the games of chance licensing law, unless we as a board decide to put it in there, it does not allow for games on Sunday. And even if we allow it on Sunday, under no circumstances shall games of chance be conducted on Easter Sunday or Christmas Day. I'm totally perplexed. I thought that this country was founded based on separation of church and state. How does the state regulate things based on Sunday being a day of religious worship? I just don't understand this at all. I would like to add in Sunday. It seems from the wording that we have that we're allowed to do that, and where it tells you can go from between the hours of noon and midnight. I would like to add in Sunday as well. I just don't see any reason not to have games of chance on Sunday if you can allow it the other days. What's the basis of that?
We can't change the state law, Nick.
No, the state law says unless it's that no games of chance shall be played on Sunday unless it shall be otherwise provided in the license issued for the conducting thereof, pursuant to the provisions of a local law or an ordinance duly adopted by the governing body of the municipality wherein the license is issued. In other words, no games on Sunday unless the local municipal law states that. So I'd like to add Sunday in.
Stephanie, are you understanding that to be the case?
I'm not reading what he's
spot.
reading. I have seen
Okay.
others where they do allow it on Sunday. I've seen other jurisdictions that allow it and others that specifically prohibit it, even though what Nick is reading seems to specifically prohibit it anyway.
It's section 4603.8 entitled Sunday Conduct of Games on. And it's section 4603.8 of the rules and regulations for under the New York State Gaming Commission. There's like 40 pages of rules and regulations for this thing.
I personally have gotten approved for games of chance on a Sunday down at the Italian feast. I don't know what Nick's talking about.
Sorry, Anthony, what?
I have gotten approved for games of chance on Sundays at the Italian.
It's because it's in the local law that if it's the town, you go through the town, right?
I think you're overreading it.
No, I'm reading it. It says right here that no games of chance should be held on Sunday unless the local law includes
Is
it.
that, is that town of Cortland law, or is that state code?
That's the state law. And I don't know what's in the town law. So if you've been getting
State, and I filed with the town, and they've both been approved through both. So I don't know where that comes into play.
okay, so if you've gone through the town, then their law must already include the Sunday thing.
Mhm.
So I would like it included, and maybe I don't know if we need to include it in our law, or if it's gonna automatically go to what the town did if they include it on Sunday. Just a technicality but I think it should include Sunday.
Okay, so is the rest of the board
mean,
okay with that?
A lot of
Because-
charitable events are held on the weekend,
Yeah,
Saturdays and Sundays, like, the fire department does something, or,
I'm fine with it. Sunday's all right.
And so where do I need to add that? The first paragraph, to allow licensed games of chance, including Sundays in the resolution?
I'm not sure where it has to get added, and if we are falling under the town law,
Then it's
Do we need-
automatically.
I don't know if it does automatically or if we have to specify it, but
Oh,
No, I would specify it. We're our own village.
okay.
If you read their
Okay.
ordinance from 1976, it's like a one pager. It's not much. So if you want to add that, we should probably add it.
let's add it.
Confusion.
The state.
Where
law
to
is
add it,
like,
I don't know. I'd have to look through it all.
State law is like 40 some odd pages, and
Right.
I'm just reading that one section.
Okay, and this was something we did discuss that was going to go up on,
Yep.
on the ballot. So Stephanie, I'd like to include, its approval by the majority of qualified voters voting there on the general Village of Buchanan election to be held on March 15th.
In the local law, it's in there.
Yeah, but.
Where do you want to
Okay, the
add?
local- But I'm looking at the resolution, that's. what
Okay,
I'm-
yeah, so read that in the resolution. I left them open because I wasn't sure who was voting which way or when you even wanted to hold this, or whether anybody was interested in even doing the games of chance. But I
Okay.
can definitely amend it, and I will amend it when I read through it again to see where it's appropriate to say including Sundays or
And
however you
then
want to.
that
Do
it
you
would
have
be.
hours specifically on a Sunday?
Well, do you want to do we just reference the hours? The hours in the state law are in section 4603.7 and section 4306.8 mentions that no games on Sunday unless the local law includes it. So maybe we just
Right.
reference those sections.
Okay.
You want me to scan this and send it to you after the meeting, Stephanie?
Yeah, because I can't take any notes. I'm
Well,
right-handed.
Stephanie has a fractured arm, a fractured wrist, so she's not able to write at this current time.
But yeah, I appreciate that, and I can add that in.
Okay,
Including Sundays.
all right.
And that would be helpful to the town as well, I'm sure. If there's no questions, if somebody comes in and wants to do a Sunday, we've authorized it.
I'll send it right after the meeting.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
All right. So, any other comments before I read the resolution? Okay, whereas the motion was duly adopted by the Board of Trustees of the Village of Buchanan for a public hearing to be held by said village board at the municipal building 236 Tate Avenue, Buchanan, or by Zoom to hear all interested parties on a proposed local law to add chapter 100 entitled Games of Chance to the Code of the Village of Buchanan to allow licensing games of chance. And Stephanie, I'm just going to include it in here, including Sundays. And also it's going to be by the approval by the majority of qualified voters voting thereon on the general village election to be held on March 15th, just so it's included in what I'm saying. Whereas notice of said public hearing was duly advertised in the official local newspaper, whereas said public hearing was duly held at a regularly scheduled meeting of the village board on January 4th, 2022 at 7:30 at the municipal building, 236 Tate Avenue, Buchanan, New York, or by Zoom, and all parties in attendance were permitted an opportunity to speak on behalf of or in opposition to said proposed local law or any therefore part of it. And I'm going to stop here because I have neglected to close the public hearing. So on a motion, can I have a motion to close the public hearing on the games of chance?
Motion.
Moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Sometimes I get ahead of myself. Whereas the Board of Trustees of the Village of Buchanan, after due deliberation, finds it in the best interest of the Village of Buchanan to adopt said local law. Now be it therefore resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Buchanan hereby adopts said local law number 3, 2022, amending chapter 100 entitled Games of Chance to the Code of the Village of Buchanan. Be it further resolved that the village clerk can and hereby be directed to enter said local law in the minutes of this meeting in the local law book of the Village of Buchanan, and to give due notice of the adoption of said local law to the Secretary of the State of New York. I think that's okay to include in this. On a motion to adopt local law number 3 of 2022.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Second.
on a question?
Yeah, just to clarify,
Sure.
we're going to issue the permits or the town of Cortland's issuing the permits?
Town of Cortland is issuing the permits.
Okay, so whenever somebody wants to do it in a village, they go to the town.
Correct.
All right, are we gonna be assessed a fee for that? Because I know we get a tax bill from the town based on the services they provide. So is that gonna change at all?
Marcus, do you recall that?
In my discussion with the town, that was never brought up, and that's a
With
good
me either, but we can
question.
ask.
I'll ask that question tomorrow as well. I'll call the clerk tomorrow, see if there's any problem. I'll get back to the board.
And also, are the fees based on the value of what the anticipated raffle or event is to bring in? Is it, or is there a set fee that the residents are gonna have to pay when they go up to the town?
I'll ask that question as well. I'll find out if there's a fees to the village or what fees going to be for the residents who was applying.
And when the applicant receives the license and performs the event, are they gonna just do all the reporting through the town, or are they gonna send it straight to the state, or do we have any kind of paperwork involvement in this?
My understanding with the clerk was that they get the license from the state, they issue the permits, they'll let us know when it's happening, the license is done, and then they handle the rest of it. She was very good about, hey, I'm a pro, we take care of all the issues for you. She did caution, because there's language in the law about enforcement. And she said, enforcement is really the state and they do take it seriously. However, if the village ever noticed anything, nuts, we should probably call the state in, because they are the agency that really does the enforcement. But barring that, she said, we'll have very little involvement in it as long as we hand it over to them, except that they would notify us and that they would tell us the license was given, tell us the permit was given, for how long it was given, and that the person is required, or the agency is required, to post that license and permit. So you would know.
When the state does the investigation, are they gonna contact our chief to see if there's been any incidents at the address and or with an organization that has requested it? Or I couldn't remember what the law said. I read it so long ago, but there is a process for the municipality to be involved. I just haven't heard what it is.
Yeah, and I did talk to the clerk about that, because it says that your police chief is the enforcement person. When I spoke to the clerk, she said, are they really going to go to the church and enforce anything at all once the license is given by the state? The town is pretty clear that they were vetted properly, and so then they issue the permit. Once we get a copy of the permit, I guess what she was alleging and what I assumed would happen is that, if the permit was for one day and 3 days later, this thing was still going on, our chief of police is responsible for going in and saying, what are you doing? Or if the hours were too long, or if people were, drunk and disorderly, yes, that would be our job.
So if they are issued this license and they're gonna serve alcohol, then they will have to get a permit from the village to serve alcohol at this gambling permit, or is it all inclusive?
That's a good question, and I don't
I
know.
think the alcohol would go through the ABC, alcohol beverage, because we have no authority to approve any use of alcohol outside of our own property.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That would have to be looked at.
Yep.
And ABC is the alcohol beverage control. I'm sorry, we all do these little abbreviations and assume everybody knows what it is. I'm sorry.
Has the chief of police been asked about this or told about this? Does he have any concerns with this or?
I haven't spoken to him. Marcus, have you spoken to him?
Yeah, he didn't have any problems with it. If anything
Okay.
comes up, definitely he'll report it to the town or to the state. Absolutely.
Okay.
I think the
Thank you.
chief was at one of our meetings. This goes back a while, and then we've been discussing this, and then it had to come to where we had to have a permissive referendum for it, and that's why we're doing it this month. So
Well, you're putting it on the ballot. as a
we're putting
ballot.
it on the ballot. I'm sorry,
Right.
we're putting it on the
Okay.
ballot.
Yep.
So we did on a question. So all in favor?
All right.
All right.
Okay, thank you. All right, is the technical assistance for nuclear communities still with us?
We are indeed.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for being patient with us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, all of you, for inviting us here and letting us join you tonight.
Oh, thank you.
My name is Jerry Mincer. I'm from Smart Growth America. Let me know if we should go ahead and dive in or if there's a formality that we should wait for.
Nope, you are on. If you could just give us an overview of what you could offer for us, that would be great.
Absolutely. I have a couple of slides, but in the interest of time, I'm happy to just talk to you all, but some visuals might be helpful.
Visual is always good.
Wonderful.
I'm a visual type of gal.
Great. Can you all see that all right?
Now we can.
Yes.
Okay, great. So we are the Nuclear Closure Communities Technical Assistance Program. We are funded by the department, by the U.S. Economic Development Administration, EDA. Generally speaking, there are about 20 nuclear power plants across the country that are either currently being decommissioned or will be decommissioned in the near future. That's of the over 80 that exist in the US, either previously decommissioned, are being decommissioned or are operating. EDA has recognized that this massive shift over the next several decades will have impacts on not only the communities where the plants are located, but the entire region and statewide. In recognition of that impact, they have funded a team of nonprofit organizations to address this problem from an economic diversification and community planning perspective. This is just a little bit about our award. They awarded a grant to our team, and we provide all of our services at no cost to any of the communities we work with. This is just a little bit about our program. It's really about capacity building and preparing for a future in which plants may not be operating. There's a few things that we do. We do webinars, newsletters, and provide general information to the broad public about decommissioning and the impacts that it has. We've developed a community of practice to connect those that are working on similar issues, either in communities or regions where a nuclear power plant exists or used to operate. And then we provide a variety of technical assistance services directly to communities and regions. And you can learn more at smartgrowthamerica.org/nuclear. The rest of the URL will take you there as well, but smartgrowthamerica.org/nuclear is the best way to get there. And then this is our project team. As I said, I'm with Smart Growth America. We're a national nonprofit. We do a variety of things related to transportation, land use planning, zoning, things like that. Our other project partners are the Nuclear Decommissioning Collaborative, which is the only clearinghouse for information on decommissioning in the country, the Center for Creative Land Recycling, who we have one other member of our team from C-Clear with us today, and the NATO Research Foundation. I won't go through this whole list, but this is just a kind of brief summary of all the different topics we touch on in our technical assistance and our other services that we provide, and newsletters and webinars, things like that. I won't go through this. It's all on our website, smartgrowthamerica.org/nuclear, if you'd like to learn more. But I'm going to let my colleague Jordan and Joelle go through the scope of work that we have prepared and thought through and worked with some folks on the call today to offer to Buchanan. So Jordan, do you want to talk through this briefly?
May I
Yes.
just ask one question? Where are you located? Where are you
Yes,
located?
absolutely. Smart Growth America's offices are located in Washington, D.C., though we have a few staffers all over the country. Joelle and C-Clear are headquartered elsewhere. Joelle's in Vermont. We have some folks in California as well. So we're kind of scattered, but me and Jordan are in D.C.
And I just want to say our executive director of C-Clear is actually in your neighborhood in Hastings on Hudson.
Oh, okay.
And you're not a government agency, are you?
We are not. We have a grant from the USEDI, but we are all nonprofit organizations.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
C-Clear is a nonprofit. We're the only national nonprofit dedicated to transforming communities through land reuse and brownfields redevelopment. And we're 26 years old. So great question, though.
Thanks, Joelle. Jordan, you want to talk through our approach that we've developed?
Yeah, so we've come up with an approach for Buchanan, and we recommend a three-phase approach that will focus on opportunities for job creation, private sector investment in the downtown area, as well as placemaking strategies. We're going to define the downtown area as the corridor along Route 9A, including the circle on Tate Avenue and the surrounding area, as well as Lindsay Avenue, as a catalyst for economic development for Buchanan. And we're going to do this by recommending placemaking strategies and infrastructure opportunities. We're going to create an inventory of vacant and underutilized properties within this area, downtown area, for potential rezoning. And we're going to provide an analysis of tax assessments for properties within the downtown area, both current and potential, kind of based on our recommendations. That's just a brief overview of it. We're happy to answer any questions more specifically about the TA or our work.
All right. Thank you. I think it's an interesting, I mean, it's not costing the village anything, but for full disclosure, I would like to say now, out of the circle, I own 2 properties. One is completely developed. There will be no more expansion, addition. It's completely developed, completely maxed out. The other one, there will be some renovation coming in the spring. So I just want to put that out there. So I see the areas that you've targeted, and of course, we're interested over in the Blakely Avenue area. There's some properties that are available there. So, and you do realize that we just completed an overlay district for the 9A corridor. I don't know if you guys are aware about that, but we just did an overlay district in that area.
Yeah.
So what you would do is you would do a study first of what all the things that you explained, the corridor and the circle area and things like that. So I think this is an opportunity for the village for public improvement, the sidewalks, the lighting, infrastructure. I think this has a huge opportunity for us for planning for the future. The village right now, because of our closure of Indian Point, because of the loss of our largest taxpayer, employer, et cetera, you know, we are transitioning to a different world. So any type of economic help or anything that we can get is most appreciated. You know, we've been seeking grants for, you know, our sewer treatment plant and different things. So we're just, like with the land use, you know, if we could have some help with that, I think that would be great. Like what your thoughts are, what you see in other nuclear communities. So I know we're not alone in this fight. You know, this is, you know, I talked to other communities that have lost their nuclear power plants. Some struggle more than others. But of course, you know, any assistance that these communities can get, including ourselves, is important because we're on the first wave of all this. And it's like, there's no playbook to this. This is like suddenly, hey, your nuclear power plant is closing, sorry. And it's like, okay, nobody gave us the playbook. What do you do next? You know, so we've tried to do some things. And I think the biggest thing for our community now, the most important thing is planning for the future. Because where are we going in our future? So I think this would be a good thing. I don't think what you have to offer will affect my properties, because I don't want to have a conflict of interest, but I am interested in staying involved in this and not have to recuse myself, because I find it interesting what you have to offer for us. Other board members, what questions do you have?
I'm just wondering, we've hired a couple of people to do a couple of things within the
Mhm.
village, and one of them was the M1 district. The M1 district is being included in the area that the consultants were discussing right now. We'll be coordinating with the firm that we've hired to give us suggestions about changing the M1 district. All 377 acres, I believe, was on the proposal that was authorized a month or so ago. We also have a LWRP that has been submitted to the Village of Buchanan for review. It doesn't specifically include the areas that you're talking about. However, it can be extrapolated that certain parts of the LWRP could be included in this analysis. So I was just wondering, are you going to be independent, or are you going to try to coordinate with some people, or, I know it doesn't cost us anything, and I'd rather go with this firm than spending the money, but that's your sale. But I was just wondering if there's gonna be some kind of coordination or what.
I don't think your scope of work was including the 240 acres.
No.
Yes,
I can address-
that's what I
No,
understood.
I've had the discussion with the group. They cannot look at, correct me if I'm wrong, they cannot look at the Indian Point property. They're looking at other areas. Maybe you can clarify that for the board members, please.
Hold on, let me just explain, Marcus. The Albany Post Road includes 2 properties or 3 properties that are in M1 and M2. Am I not mistaken?
There's towards the
Yes,
Con Edison.
yes, they can look at,
Okay.
they can look at
And
that
the
area.
resolution that was passed last month for the Smith Company included all of the M2 and M1 districts of approximately 365 acres. The Indian Point property was less than 300 acres. It's 177 and 60 acres respectively. So there's an overlap of M1 and M2 evaluations. Am I missing something? Am I totally wrong here?
Well, hold on. At the last discussion we had with the board specifically said they wanted to just look at the Indian Point property with David Smith. We didn't want to look at the sheetrock place or anything else. So David Smith's work, the scope would just be the Indian Point property, and that's it. That's based on what our discussion we had with David Smith. And Sean, I agree with you. I was trying to see if this group would have been able to help us through that process and not have to spend any money. But that my discussion was with them was that they cannot look at the Indian Point property. They could look at areas around it, and that's why they're looking at the areas they specified.
So is there any M2 districts in the core M1 or M2 districts within the corridor that's being discussed right now?
I'm just trying to think, the M1, M2s, you're speaking mostly of on the 9A corridor, you're speaking mostly of the Con Edison parcels that the transmission lines, there's some of that, because aren't they M1, M2?
I believe part of the WIC is M1, M2. I believe the Pacific Automotive and the former Planamenta property where the dewatering facility is. Is that M1 or M2, or is that C? Is that the C district, Mr. Cook?
I don't have it.
Yeah, Peter, are you there? Do you have the map on the Route 9A corridor?
He's muted.
Yeah,
He's looking.
WIC
Yeah, I'm looking at
I
the map
don't
right
remember.
now.
What area are we looking
I
at?
don't remember.
What area are we looking for?
Basically, east of Route 9, there are M1 zones. Everything in the paperwork that I got references a study of the downtown for possible opportunities, underdeveloped properties. So I'm going to assume that they will look at properties that are adjacent to the 9A corridor. and not be looking at waterfront industrial properties.
Oh, absolutely. However, I just wanted to see if they could coordinate with that other company that's gonna do all of the M2 district, or all the, says it's approximately 365 acres of the zone M2 planned industrial district. So if we're just saying that the M2 is the peaceful use of nuclear energy, that'd be fine, but we had talked about something else, but, okay.
Yeah, I think it's stuff adjacent to the downtown area, not the nuclear and sheetrock property on the river.
You think there was
Am
a
I correct in
mention of,
that? Is that a correct statement? Stuff that is adjacent to the 9A corridor is going to be
Yeah.
in your study. Does that
Yeah.
sound right?
and I think you had also mentioned something about Blakely Avenue if there was time.
Yeah,
Okay.
so let me just,
Okay.
if I can,
Lots
let's
of
just,
questions,
I'm gonna
sorry.
zoom you, gonna zoom you guys out. I love the collaboration. I love the questions. So thank you so much. Yes, we're gonna be looking at, and we absolutely believe in collaboration. We don't do this in a vacuum. So first and foremost, I want to say how wonderful it's been to work with Marcus. He is a gem and he is so knowledgeable that, you know, working with him, it's not like we're going to do our thing and then never check in with Marcus, right? We're going to be constantly.
He's already got a swollen head. You're going to make him.
Well, he deserves it. So checking in with him and making sure, like I said, planning in a vacuum is not good for anyone. So making sure along the way that we're getting it right, you know, after we do the existing conditions and the placemaking, the infrastructure opportunities, we're going to keep, you know, touching back and saying, is this correct? Hey, what is, you know, your consultant doing? You know, we understand about the overlay. Thank you so much, Mayor Knickerbocker, for pointing that out. Absolutely. We ask him for all the existing plans. We've gone over these things, what actually exists so that we're not reinventing the wheel. But please know that this scope of work is flexible. It is not supposed to be so rigid that we can't, you know, pivot when we need to. If we uncover things that lead us down another path, we're going to check back in with Marcus and say, hey, we thought this was going to happen. Instead, we're seeing these trends. We'd like to do X, Y, and Z. What do you think? So if there's something that, you know, like that happens, we're definitely looking at this in ways that are not, you know, no, here are the four corners. This is what we're going to do. And that's that. But this is where we're starting. We want to give you, you know, what the phases were just to start with, and then to see how it unfolds when we actually start doing the work.
All right. I like the flexibility. Good.
No, absolutely. And the only reason why I asked is because you guys, you're not charging us, however the other firm is. And if you're going to have interaction and overlaying, the original proposal was for $14,000 and the principal's at $170 an hour. And if you're planning on getting together and communicating, it lowers the, I don't want to say lowers productivity, but it takes away from the base price of our product that we had requested.
Sure.
So I know sometimes people like to make calls all the time, but it's good when you're not getting charged, but when you get charged, you find out that your product has gotten so low that you have to allocate more money because you're coordinating with a different effort. So that was my only concern. I didn't want so many people working on the same thing that we would be diminishing what our final product would be.
I think it's two very distinctly separate things in my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just asking, Nick, because I know there's manufacturing in the corridor that they're talking about.
Yeah, fair enough. Can I ask a question? First of all, it's Joel, Jerry, and Jordan. So I assume your company only hires people whose first name starts with J. So can one of you explain the term placemaking? I have a sense of what it is. I don't think a lot of people do. When I get very excited when I hear placemaking because I've always thought reinventing and looking at things from that perspective would be great. Can somebody explain what you mean by placemaking?
Sure.
We're all too excited to go for it. Joelle, you go ahead.
Anyone.
I've been planning for over 17 years, and placemaking to me is that secret sauce of a community. What is it that if somebody blindfolded you and plopped you in some place where you had never been, and they took the blindfold off, and you'd say, I'm in New Orleans, I'm in the Garden District, I'm in the French Quarters, or I'm in, Cape May, New Jersey with the Victorian. It's what actually makes people come to your community and makes it that special place where people feel connected. It's a quality of life. It's making sure your streets are complete. I always like to say it's a secret sauce kind of thing of a place.
I think it's a great term.
Yeah, Jerry,
I would
what's
I
your
would say
take on it?
it's making your community a place where people want to be and go. And we have sometimes that can be as simple as landscaping. Sometimes it can be as simple as painting some lines on a curb. And other times it's investing in a storefront and widening sidewalks and things like that. But it's anything that makes people want to spend time in a place. That's how
Yeah.
I intend to do it.
Yeah, we
I've
kind of
always
don't have
envisioned-
that problem. Our houses go up for sale, and I want to tell you, people want to come here. And really the heart of our community, I would have to say, are the people that live here. I mean, that's really what makes this place really special. So,
And
yeah.
we
Right.
talked about identity, right?
Mhm.
So about, in our previous meetings about what is Buchanan's, right? The village's identity. Someone says Village of Buchanan, oh, Indian Point, right?
Right.
Well, that's not the identity. So it's like reinventing Buchanan for the future. And
Thank you.
what-
We're on the same
what does that
page.
look
I
like?
have been pounding that drum since the announcement of the closure. So thank you. I'm on that page. Yes.
So that's another thing of placemaking, is making sure that that reinvention or that comes about is what embodies, your community and why it is so special and why people would want to come to Buchanan. We're just
Yeah.
trying to enhance it and
Yeah.
make it louder so that people around go, oh, you know what? Lens Cove, they have a really great put in for kayaking, and oh, I heard they have this ice rink and
Oh, you heard about the ice rink?
I've been on the call since 7:30.
We
So
tortured you,
I love
sorry.
the community input. That's wonderful that people are in touch with, the playground and where do we put our resources. And I think that's what Jordan and I have been, and Jerry, as far as the scope of work, where's the best investments, right? Where do you put the investments so that, it affects the quality of life for residents, right? But it also entices visitors and businesses to go,
Sure.
maybe we should check out
Sure.
Buchanan.
Sure.
We think they should.
And
a great place.
it all feeds into real estate prices, even though we're pretty
It
solid.
does.
And if a restaurant is going to survive in this area, it's got to draw people from neighboring communities. So, it's while the home prices might be stable enough with the residents here, because it's a desirable area, it would only go up from there if you can do things to attract interest, I think. What I'd really like, if we can get Bill Gates to donate one, is an antique carousel on the Village Hall lawn. But that's probably going to be about our total, that would probably be worth more than our total tax assessment for the year, so.
With one of those brass rings that Martha's Vineyard has, right?
Yeah. Anyway, kidding aside, thank you. I welcome the input from you guys personally. I think it's great.
Thank you.
So the studies that you do would eventually allow us to potentially tap into some federal funding?
That's right. So the EDA has some grant resources. They are administered by the regions. Every federal agency has different regions, and you apply through your EDA region for some grant dollars. Now, this is all subject to federal appropriations, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have to get into that. But there are currently, and we hope future, grant resources available through EDA specifically for communities impacted by nuclear power plant closures. And showing that you've done some of this planning will definitely support an application that you were to put in the future. Those applications, they really encourage them to be about economic diversification and the impact of on jobs and job creation. But planning is absolutely an important element of any application that you're going to put in.
All right, good.
And I should also mention that, you know, this is the scope of work that we've developed based on some of your shorter term priorities. Should we get to the end of this and you decide to pursue EDA funding and you would like to talk with us about that, use us as a sounding board, have us join you for meetings with the EDA regional folks, we're happy to do that as well. We can't help you write the application. There has to be that sort of line in the sand, but we can help you sort of get prepared.
Because I know the town of Cortland, I know Nita Lowy had set up the $15 million fund for communities that were affected by nuclear closures. And the town of Cortland was awarded $3 million for infrastructure a couple of years ago now, I think. How time flies. And we didn't put the application in because we didn't have, with the EDA application, we didn't have any job creation that we could, you know, develop. So we weren't eligible for that. But I think if we, you know, get involved with the study and I think once people, especially with the acreage, the 240 acres, when that becomes released, I think you are going to see a huge tidal wave of interest of developers coming in. And I know you're not going to touch the 240 acres. We have hired another company to help us to look at rezoning that property. So we're kind of working, you know, you're working in one area, David Smith will work in the Indian Point property. So that's another thing. The Indian Point property is it's planning for the future. Yeah. So as that property becomes available, you know, we're able to kind of have a little more direction on that.
Yeah, these efforts definitely parallel each other, and we're very aware that there is that land. We're not pretending it doesn't exist. Right. But we just, you know, in our conversations decided on this other focus in your downtown, which I think will still support all of that work and sort of dovetail nicely.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I don't see it as being a negative for the village, honestly. I think, you know, and we would be able to bounce things off you about other things too. I mean, you're focused in a certain area, but we might come to you and say, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? So, you know what, we're not planners. You know, none of us on our board are planners or zoning people or architects, or, you know, we're average residents that run for these boards, that love their community and want to see it prosper. So sometimes you just need that expert help. And if it comes for free, that's even better.
Well, planning is no good without community input. So we need people like yourselves and people who are dedicated to representing that community. My hat is off to you. So
I'm sure you'll have input from the community, which is good. Which is good.
I know that you guys have worked on some brownfields projects, some housing issues. Is there a reason why that you chose that one area instead of the entire area that included the nuclear power plant? Why did you limit the scope of your study?
So I think what you're getting at is when we started this whole process and talking with communities, we had some lessons that were learned by other communities that went after EDA funding. And what happened was they focused specifically on the land itself that the plant was on. And EDA said, look, you're not ever going to have control over that land. There's spent fuel on that land. You don't have control over it. Therefore, we're not going to give you funding. And this is the case with Vermont Yankee. They have applied 3 times. And each time they have been denied, and EDA keeps telling them, look, you need to broaden out. Look at other places in the, outside of Vernon, Vermont, right?
Right.
Look at the
Yes.
region, that the impacts that this has had. So look at your other economies that you can grow. Is there an airport you can expand? Are there farming businesses that we can help with strategic planning or maker spaces, entrepreneurial centers, right? That sort of thing. EDA is like, we're eager for those kind of applications, right?
Okay.
And so we've seen this with, especially with the NCC funding and, for instance, Harrisburg, they realized that there's no way we can grow. We cannot grow without our airport being expanded. Sure. What was it? 2.96 million they got awarded to expand their airport. So, and that came from the nuclear community, that funding specifically came from this pot. And so when we were looking at Buchanan and talking with Marcus, just like Jerry said, we're not blinded. We're not, oh, there's no nuclear plant, right? Of course there's a nuclear plant. And of course there's a gorgeous waterfront there. I mean, waterfront's the great real estate, right? But is it the short term right now? Do we focus on it? We don't focus on it right now, but you're doing a great job with like, okay, let's think about the zoning, right? So that's step one over there. So what EDA is really, that funding is we're looking at other areas of Buchanan, and in working with Marcus, he told us about 9A, and we were looking at the roundabout and possible build out analysis and placemaking. What is that placemaking for Buchanan now that Indian Point is no longer? What does the village of Buchanan now morph into, right? Kind of like a butterfly kind of thing, right? What is its second act? Kind of like a brownfield, right? What's the second act? So that's what we're trying to uncover and to say to EDA, hey, through this study and through this data that we've come up with, we see possible growth along 9A, but there's an infrastructure issue. Maybe that's a grant for infrastructure. Maybe it's a grant for, feasibility study, right, of the infrastructure. Or maybe it's, a downtown revitalization, right? Because we've seen the, like, hey, you could go up to 3 stories and maybe there's not complete streets, leading up to the roundabout, or maybe there's something at Lens Cove. So there's all these possibilities that are outside of the property that the plan is on. We recognize that, but it's not like we're going to plan, again, I'm going to say it, in a vacuum. We know the plant's there, and we could say, yes, in the long term, hey, look, we could make these green connections right to the waterfront. We're going to plan over here, but eventually it's going to connect to the waterfront, right? But we need those complete streets to get over to the waterfront. But right now we don't have that. So we're just putting that in front of the horse, if you will. We're just going to put the cart before then.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Thanks, yes.
And I think
Okay.
we've discussed not just the circle itself, we've had discussions about it, but the area leading into the circle, the Tate Avenue strip, where the restaurant is, and also
White
the
Street.
other one, White Street. Yeah, Nick has talked about that for quite a while, so there might be some type of an opportunity there. I mean, it's privately owned, but so
We're
just
talking
some thoughts.
gateways. When
Yes.
people come in, whether it's from the north, the south, what is their first impression of Buchanan? Is it welcome? Is it, or is it an industrial, coming to my town right now, the Abervites died, and so everybody sees a substation.
Yeah.
Welcome, right? Is that a great picture right now? Not really, but those trees will hopefully grow back. So we saw that when we were looking on Albany Post Road, right? When people come in from the north, and what is that gateway? What do visitors? What would you want them to see?
Yeah.
That's just an example.
Okay. So really, you can help us to try to reinvent ourselves with the input of the community and the board. and also help us with planning for the future. So I think, I think this is a definite positive for the village. I don't see any downside to it, honestly.
Can I ask a couple of
Sure.
specific questions? Joelle, what you just said made me, about that area made me think, will your work include any kind of site plan proposals or renderings, sketches, anything of that nature, or just general recommendations?
Right now, I would say just general recommendations.
Okay. And is there a time frame that you guys envision for something like this? 10 years, 20 years?
Oh, you mean as in
The
the
whole
study,
process.
or is
The whole
as in the
process.
future planning?
No, the process with you guys.
Oh, okay. So we have a tentative on the scope of work that was provided, I believe, in the workshop that you had on the 28th. On the second page is the proposed work plan and timeline. So obviously we had started early December to mid-January. So now all these timeframes are just going to be adjusted. So
Okay,
We envisioned it taking about 4 months to
gotcha.
kind of collect the information we need, work through it, come up with some recommendations, bounce them back to you all, get input, and more or less finalize them. That doesn't mean
Okay.
that at 4 months we turn into pumpkins and you never hear from us again. But we just wanted to give you a sense of when you could expect some
see.
initial product or deliverable.
I would also
I
say
did see.
in terms of the timeline of like the scope of what we're thinking, I would say a lot of these recommendations we would make would be with a thought, well, not specifically, with a thought towards being able to be implemented sooner rather than later. So in a more shorter to medium term impact,
Right.
as opposed to a 30-year long term.
Gotcha.
Right.
Okay, and what's any specific plan in terms of meeting with the village board or reaching out to residents, or how do you normally interact with the local village? Would you be looking for any of us to join you on a walk through different areas or anything?
So there's no typical in this. It sort of depends. You're going to get a lot of it depends types of answers, because
Sounds
it's
like
really,
a diaper joke.
yeah. It's really intended to meet the need. So we are most likely not able to travel in current times. We're not able to
Actually,
travel
no.
under this grant. But in a perfect world, we would love to come and do some kind of walking tour so that we can experience the village and see for ourselves. We've been relying on Google Maps heavily, as well as Marcus's expertise. But I do think that having maybe an midway presentation or conversation with the board might be appropriate, and maybe presenting and discussing some of our early findings or our preliminary recommendations to the board would be appropriate.
Okay, so mostly you'll be working remotely
That's right.
from snow
Yeah, I
country.
believe EDA has a travel restriction right now. So
Gotcha.
because
That's
we are funded
understandable.
under EDA, we
Oh,
have to follow,
right.
we have to prescribe,
Gotcha.
right?
Okay,
But
okay.
we would, believe me,
Would love
Jean
to.
and I are biting at the bit to come down to, she's, 10 minutes away, and I'm ready to get in my car and drive around.
Yeah.
So,
All right,
Okay.
great. Anyone else have any comments? All right. So I am going to make a motion to accept the scope of work by the Technical Assistance for Nuclear Communities. On a motion,
So
Second,
moved.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, great. Thank you guys so much. It was an interesting
you.
conversation we had. And we look
Thank
you.
forward to
Thank you.
working with you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Okay, so the next is just standard resolution stating polling places and hours for the next village election, whereas the next general village election shall be held on Tuesday, March 15, 2022. And whereas according to the New York State election law 15-104 sub 3, the Board of Trustees of the Village shall adopt a resolution which states the polling place in each election district and the hours during which the polls shall be open. Now be it therefore resolved that the polling places for the next general village election for District number 1 and 2 are located in the community room on the second floor of the municipal building, 236 Tate Avenue, Buchanan, New York. And be therefore resolved that the hours which the polls shall be open will be between the hours of 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. On a motion,
So moved.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next is appointing registrar and deputy registrar, and this is for vital statistics. So this is death certificates, anyone who has passed in the village. And I understand, I think last year Cindy said there were approximately 8 residents. So that's what the vital statistics is. Whereas it is necessary to appoint a registrar and deputy registrar of vital statistics for the village of Buchanan, and now be therefore resolved that the mayor hereby appoints Cynthia Kempter as registrar and Sharon Murphy as deputy registrar of vital statistics of the village of Buchanan for a period of 2 years from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2023. On a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next is a resolution authorizing mayor to enter an intermissional agreement with Westchester County for bus passenger shelters. So this is something we do. We have an agreement with the county. We do not get a lot of money from this. I think the last check was $1,018 for the bus shelters, and I believe we only have one, correct? I believe we only have one out at the circle
Correct.
across from the post office. Let's see, and I know there's going to be a question. It was dated August 1st, 2020. Oh, no, that's not 20. There's a typo here. August 1st, 2021, and it's for a 5-year period. So whereas on August 1st, 2021, the village entered into an intermunicipal agreement with Westchester County to operate and maintain bus passenger shelters in the village of Buchanan, as well as provide advertising on said bus shelters for a period of 5 years. Whereas that prior intermunicipal agreement expired on June 30th, 2021, and the village board is desirous of entering into a new intermunicipal agreement with Westchester County to operate and maintain bus passenger shelters in the village of Buchanan for the period beginning on July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2026. And whereas the county shall be required to hold harmless and defend the village of Buchanan and its employees, officers, and agents from all claims, suits, and actions arising from the construction and maintenance of the shelters. Now be it therefore resolved that the mayor is hereby authorized to execute said 5-year intermunicipal agreement and all other necessary documents between the village of Buchanan and the county of Westchester for the purpose of providing bus passenger shelters and establishing the terms and conditions of the same. On a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
On a question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The next is a motion to modify the village fee schedule for manual water readings. We have mostly everyone in the village is on our new water reading system.
Point of
And
order, Mayor, there's a different one.
I'm sorry, did I skip something?
Yeah, the
Oh,
hazard.
the hazard mitigation plan. Thank you. I skipped over that. Thank you. Okay, so the next is the hazard mitigation program that Marcus has been working with the county. George, our engineer, has been working with the county. I have reviewed it and I had no comments. I know it's been up on our website. So now we're at the process where all the communities in Westchester County are voting to approve it, and then the county will then submit to the state. So we're at the end of that process. So, and I know Marcus, you had sent out, geez, my gosh, it's months ago now, October, you had sent out the hazard mitigation plan to the board.
That's
So,
correct. Our section, and then also a link to the county website, and we posted that information on our website with the link to the county website as well.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. So I'd like to make a motion authorizing the adoption of the 2022 Westchester County, New York Hazard Mitigation Plan.
So move.
Second,
Second.
on a question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're gonna go to the modification of the village fee schedule. And like I had said earlier, most people are on the new water system, the new meter system. And we continually have some people who are not on the system, and they have been notified. They've been asked to set up appointments, and they continue not to be on the system. And it's beneficial to be on our water system, our meter system, because you're able to see if your house has a leak so that the water bill doesn't run up to some astronomical number. So you can monitor that. So, but the board feels it's necessary that everyone be on the system. And so what we're going to do, every 6 months, the fee will go from $200 to $500 for those who are not hooked on the meter system. We have to send out our water person to actually do the readings. So this will be effective with the April 2022 water billing. So I think I covered all of that. So on a motion to modify the village fee schedule.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
on a question?
Was there a resolution that came out in the package? I don't seem to have mine with me. Is there a resolution?
No, I don't have it either. I
No,
was just looking in the email online and it's not in there either.
no.
No, it's not.
Do you feel that I didn't?
There's
sum
not
up-
a resolution, it's just a motion,
Okay,
just to
Thank you.
consider a motion.
Okay, so we don't need any paperwork
Right.
on it.
Correct,
All right, we discussed
Okay.
it at the last workshop, so I'm good.
right.
What,
Okay.
I'm sorry, why don't we need a resolution to change a fee? I thought the laws that we had passed, to amend the fee schedule was to be by resolution, because if we didn't use a resolution, I thought we had to have a public hearing. That's why we changed the law that way.
The resolution and the motion on this it's the same thing on New York State law. So you could do a motion or a resolution. They both hold the same legal rights.
So we can change any fee we want without having a resolution?
Yeah, resolution and motion are the same. Resolution is just a more worded explanation of the process.
Doesn't our code say when we change a fee schedule, it'll be by resolution? I don't know. I'm sure you're right, Marcus, but I didn't know that we changed fees without a resolution, so.
I believe the last time we changed some of the fee schedules, we did it by motion as well. We've been doing motions for at least a couple of years now.
I mean, I can certainly
No, I just,
repeat the wording and put it under a resolution. If the board feels more comfortable like that, but I guess we're voting on a motion to modify the fee schedule. So
technically, we wouldn't have to have a resolution for anything. We could just do everything by motion. Is that correct, Marcus?
That is correct. And then the only time you need an actual, if you want to adopt a resolution, normally you do it with local laws, but we've been doing all of those by resolution. And that was a recommendation suggestion by NICOM, a couple conferences I've attended, with state motions or resolutions do have the same power and authority. Now, if the board wants to do a resolution in the future for any specific item, we could always put it into a resolution wording if we want to go in that direction. So it's the board's pleasure. We've been doing motions to make the process a little quicker. That's all.
Okay, it's not a problem. I felt that it was out of the norm, but if that's what everybody likes to do, that's no problem. I just thought we had a code because we used to have a resolution for everything. And then when we amended the fee schedule many years ago, we added the caveat that we could do it by a resolution and we tried to take all the fees out of the code and just throw it onto a matrix. So that's okay, it's not a problem. I just didn't, it just seemed a little strange to me. No problem. As long as-
No problem. No, good question.
As long as you guys say it's legal, it's fine.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
problem.
my
Thanks.
recollection would have been that it took a resolution also. I'm fine with doing it this way right now, but, you know, we could always look at that in the future. I'm almost inclined to think anything that has to do with, anything, you know, there should be resolutions when it has to do with expenditures and maybe when it has to do with fees, but I think we're fine. As long as it's, what we're doing is legal for tonight, I'm fine with getting this done.
Sure.
Okay, as long as it's legal, and if the board, you know, let us know before the next meeting if you would prefer to do all resolutions, you know, please, you know, let Marcus and Cindy know going forward, okay?
Actually, let me know.
Okay, and Stephanie also, Stephanie does do our resolutions too. We'll keep you in the loop, Stephanie, not to worry.
Thanks.
I make a
Okay.
motion to send a resolution to Stephanie.
Okay, so we've done on a question, all in favor?
All right,
Aye.
And this seems to be the hot topic of the night. We've discussed this. We had a resident that asked questions about the rink. We've had Marcus send information about the rink. So we're at the point now, whether we're going to approve the purchase of the synthetic rink. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of the synthetic rink.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second,
Who got recorded as making the motion? I think I spoke. the same-
Either you or
Rich-
I. Yeah.
Either one. I
Okay.
heard both of you at
Either
the
one.
same time.
Okay.
Okay, so Rich made the motion, I second it.
Okay, and on a question?
on a question.
Sure.
The original grant money from Entergy in March of 2021, there were two $25,000 grants.
Mhm.
One of the grants, the original grant paperwork said for Buchanan Day and other events was for $25,000. The other one on March 29th, 2021 was for Circle, for repairing the Circle
Mhm.
in Monroe Park. Each was designated for $25,000. The renovations to Monroe Park have been more than doubled. If
Mhm.
you look at the expenses listed that were sent out, we've spent over $55,000 on that. The Buchanan Day and other events, as you can see on the spreadsheet, are listed there.
Mhm.
The ice skating rink costs almost $39,000.
Mhm.
And even if we had the money, which it doesn't appear that we do, that we really shouldn't even be spending it. Right now, the trust and agency account is a negative number, and we still owe another $18,500. So that extra $18,000, $20,000 are definitely going to have to come from the taxpayer unless some other money is going to go into the trust and agency account.
No, excuse me, Sean. If you see my schedule,
Yeah.
the second 18,000 is in there. We just haven't actually paid it yet.
It's
I
not,
put it in there as a placeholder.
okay.
Okay.
So there again, it's still not paid yet, and the balance in the account is negative, even though it's only negative by $244.
Right, but it included in there.
Okay. The other issue I have with this is that although it's stated that the grant could pay for that, which obviously it can't, but when we purchase anything, whether it's from a grant, whether it's from the budget, we have bidding requirements. There was no bids for this. There's over $35,000. We're supposed to get 3 bids for it. We don't have any bids. If these are the only people that can supply this service, then at the minimum, we need a sole sourcing letter as to why we have to do this. You know, we had paid out the paperwork that Cindy had sent out said the first payment was already sent out. And there was a voucher down in the village hall, but there was no signatures on it. So I don't even know how we could have paid $18,000 for it. because there was no signature. I don't even think Marcus had the signature on it when I was looking through the bills. So there was a letter that was written after to Entergy to ask if they could use the money for ice skating rink, and there were 3 other uses for the remainder of the grant money if there was anything left over. One was for community events. One was for tables and carpeting at Village Hall where the seniors meet. Another one was for rehab of a park where the Christmas tree lights were. So they were allowing you to combine a couple of those grants to try and cover the cost of rehabbing the park. So, just Monroe Park alone, like I said, it's cost $55,000 where there was only originally $25,000 budgeted.
Mhm.
And, it's the money. Also, Nick, I know you read the instructions on that. It says that the ice skating rink, if it gets dirty, loses its ability to be slippery. And if we're going to leave it outside, it's going to get dirty,
Yeah.
So that reduces its ability. And it also said that the most expensive product is the lubricant that is put on it. It also says it's not manufactured anymore. The other problem that I have with this is I don't even think our insurance company has been notified. What is it going to change? Who's going to cover this if somebody breaks an arm? We're sitting there trying to purchase something that's over budget already for $38,000 that can't get dirty, that it's going to end up costing us money, whether somebody gets hurt, whether we have to have somebody standing there at the gate, making sure that people don't run on this when they're trying to play basketball or wherever you want to set it up. This money that Entergy gave us could have been used for many other things. And like I said, the original one was for Buchanan Day or other events, or to rehab different parts of the parks. And, this type of temporary recreational piece of equipment is not going to get its money's worth. It's going to be a waste. And it never should have been purchased outside of our purchasing guidelines. I know there's been an interpretation that grant money doesn't have to go through those. I don't believe so. I believe any money that's expended by a municipality has to go by the same New York State law, as well as the Village of Buchanan Code that we had adopted many years ago that required and designated the types of bidding that is required or sole sourcing that is required. So I'm totally against this. It never should have been done without notifying the rest of the board. No money should have been spent without an approved resolution for the expenditures.
Marcus, did you get other bids for this?
Yes, I did. I can forward that over to you guys as well.
Okay. I think Nancy, our recreation supervisor, is still on. Nancy, would you like to comment about this?
I don't know what you need to comment on. John just made a statement.
Okay, well, what are your thoughts about us having the ice skating rink?
Well, my thoughts are if you can find somebody to man, all right, pay people to man it. We would need to build a weather box is what I'm calling it, where they can sit. They're protected a little bit from the elements because it's outdoors, especially in the winter. We can use it for camp, but keeping it clean and being able to repair anything on it was a thought that, was not presented to me beforehand. I like the idea of an ice skating rink. It's just going to be, work as everything else is.
And the maintenance, there was some maintenance information, I believe, that went out. Marcus, I believe, sent that out. This is not a temporary thing. So this is not like flooding the rink, which we can't do because the rink will leak. So it's not a temporary thing. It's something that can be used year after year after year. They do recommend cleaning the surface every 2 weeks. I'm sorry.
What do you clean?
Marcus, what you had told me the other day, what's used to clean it? It's basically wiping the surface up.
Soap and water.
Yeah. The what I was reading said that the earlier versions of this required adding a lubricant, but now the product they're selling now, is impregnated, or it's part of the material. And what I looked on the website, it said that under heavy use, the product lasts for 12 to 15 years. Well, there's some other products that might last 10 years, but I'm not exactly sure which one we have. What are we getting, the Quick Rink V Pro system? Is that the system we're getting?
That's correct. Just to give some information, I reached out to a recreation department. It's one of the references that I provided
Yeah.
to the board, and I did reach out to them. And it's outside in the field, and they say they have to do it like every 2 weeks. They
Okay.
mop it down with some soap and water, and then they
Okay.
squeeze it off. That's what they do in the other community. And yes, it's a pro. And the liquid that they're going to give us to us, they say you'll probably never use it, but if you want to have it, you can have it. And it has a 15-year life.
Right. And that system comes in 4x8 sheets that are half an inch thick. And the guy, and there's a video on their website, and the guy is saying that basically it's like putting together big puzzle pieces, they interlock. And he says, as long as it's sitting flat, the pieces stay together. There's no problem with them separating. Now, is the pavilion floor flat enough for that? Because I know in some places it's going to have humps and dips and whatever. And so do we know that these will stay together? I could envision it right in the middle of Tate Avenue. If it's something that you could snap together in an hour and take down in an hour, I could picture skating Sundays on Tate Avenue where we close the street for half a day or something. But,
That floor is definitely not flat. There's cracks all over the place in it.
well, how big is the
others, but
that's what I'm asking.
What is the
How big is the one that we're buying? What's the area?
requirements for the sub base? Do you even
40
know?
by 60.
How big is the unit we're buying?
40 by 60.
Quite big.
Or each piece,
Okay.
and how do you move them?
So
Do we
does it
have
matter what you put it on?
We would put it on the base of the pavilion, and Bob Wheeler looked at it and he's thinking more towards the back of the pavilion, not towards the front,
So it's suitable
So
to sit on
the
concrete.
back section.
To where the basketball courts are.
You can't put it in the grass and you can't put it anywhere else.
I think you
It's gotta
can.
be
put it in
flat.
grass.
Well,
It's
obviously.
gotta be
It's
flat.
flat.
Well,
Yeah,
make it-
it's flat.
Do we need to put a tarp underneath it between the asphalt and the material?
No, if you looked at the information, you could put on any flat surface, any surface that you want to put it on.
Directly
No.
on it, because it says that both surfaces are good. If one side gets worn out, flip it over. So I'm thinking that we need to put a tarp underneath it. Get a couple of big tarps underneath it. Otherwise, you're not gonna have two good sides.
Not according to the manufacturer. They say you could put it in the parking lot, you could put it on a basketball court, on a tennis court. They say you could put it on any surface that you would like.
Right,
According to the
okay,
manufacturer.
right down on asphalt, and when one side gets worn out, you can flip it over and it's still gonna be good. Okay, I mean, there are questions. I think it'd be a really fun thing, but there are, a few logistical things. Like, what I don't understand is this something that a couple of guys could go out and snap together in an hour? Is it this kind of thing that takes all day to set up? Is it the kind of thing you could put up on a daily basis if you wanted to have an event somewhere? Or is it something that you sort of want to set up and leave for a month?
The other locations that have it, they had it for a season. They're pretty large square pieces. You put them together, you can take them apart. If you saw the video, it takes a little bit more time to put them together than take them apart. If you looked at the video.
Yeah, I couldn't open the video. I was looking at some of the info, but the video, there's two files that were very large that my computer wouldn't open.
I think for $40,000, I'm sure Nancy could find a place that our recreation equipment could be rehabbed. I'm sure there's better expenditures for $40,000 than a temporary ice rink that probably would get used maybe 2 months every year, and it'll probably, get damaged somehow, somebody jumping in there, somebody trying to play basketball, rough handling, uneven ground, being thrown into one of the Sealand trailers over there, getting covered with dirt. There's somebody getting hurt. Who's going to have the bathrooms open? It's just a myriad of things that it's, I don't know.
It's too bad, the negativity, it's sad with the negativity on this board. You try to do something new for the kids and you're just shot down. Like, I don't know anybody else. No, honestly, think about over the years. I was laughed at when I was on the board. You were mayor, Sean. I was basically laughed at because of the shovel ready. I said, let's go after that grant money. Let's go after that. And, I was yeah, well, you know what? So over the years, I focused on trying to do nice things for the village, getting grant money so the taxpayer dollars don't have to be used. And no matter, what, I could say white, other people say black. There's never any, anything that certain people want to do that help the village, that want to, help the kids. I thought this was a great thing for the kids. I've been in conversation. I had such a good working relationship with Entergy. We really, we were able to do some decent pilots and different things. I was able to get this money. I don't ever remember any other mayor getting this kind of money from Entergy. And we had been in verbal conversation for quite some time about the ice skating rink. And they thought that it was a great idea. It would be something different for the community. And especially for the kids now with COVID. I mean, I'd love to see these kids outside playing, and this would be something good. And how many kids in our community know how to skate? I don't think any of them do. When we were growing up, we all knew how to skate. So you know what? It's going to be a board decision. If the board doesn't want this, rehabbing some of the other stuff, I don't know what the heck we could rehab. We talked about the playground. That playground money definitely can come out of the money that's there for recreational funds. So that's not even an issue, but like what kind of equipment, so this is something different. This is probably a once in a lifetime opportunity to get something like this. And it doesn't have to be used. If we flooded the pavilion, let's think about it. First of all, we can't, the pavilion leaks and it would cost too much money. But if we flooded it with the weather, we still wouldn't be using it. This is January. I don't know if it's going to freeze that much this year. So what are you going to use it once or twice? And that was one of the other options with this, to use something that you could flood. And then we had issues with the pavilion once again, the different heights of it. So, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to have an ice skating rink here in the village. And if the board doesn't see the benefit of it, or the board thinks, I don't know what they think, but if they don't think this is a benefit for the kids, something that's new, something that's different, something that would be fun for the kids and get them outside, not only the kids, there's probably some big kids that would love to get on the ice. This is something, like I said, could be used year round. It could be used for the camp program. So yeah. So that's where we are. So it's kind of up to the board. Whatever the board wants. This money was specifically gotten for this, and it's money that was appropriated for. So when we get grants, there's specific requirements. It's not like we just get the money. So the grant was specifically for that and to be used for that. So now we can't turn around and say, really, I think we should get a new ping pong table. I mean, I'm sorry the board doesn't see the benefit to this, but the board will make the decision, and whatever it is, it is.
Well, I see.
Whatever you guys choose, we will, if you choose to get it, we'll work it out. We'll figure out where it goes. We'll figure out who we're going to hire. I mean, it'll all have to get figured out, but if you choose to get it, it'll eventually work out.
I'm sorry to disagree, Mayor, but when we got the $25,000 for the ice skating rink, you did send back an email and did get approval from Entergy to change the use, to expand the use. So it's not just specifically for one thing, it's for another 4 things, okay? And you had also stated that no taxpayer money was going to be used. However, Monroe Park and the ice skating rink are now valued at $92,000 when we only had $50,000 allocated. So, it's over budget. It's way over.
Cindy, what monies do we have still available in the account there?
Mayor, you said that the other grant money was allocated for other things. So if you-
No, we're not getting the carpeting upstairs. We're not getting that. So take that out of the picture.
why not? What's the matter with it? Why not?
I think more people could use the ice skating rink, don't you? Don't you think something positive for the kids would be great?
I
So,
think something
yeah,
positive
and I
for
was
the
in verbal communication with them and they finally said, look, we need it in writing. And that's what happened. It went in writing.
They're
So this has
allowing-
been worked on for over a year, Sean. So we're at the point now, we make the vote. Either the board wants to do this for the kids or the board doesn't want to do it for the kids. It's very simple. I mean, we can go on for the next 4 hours, round and round. We've discussed it before. We had a resident come in, expressed her concerns and her thoughts. And I don't know, you know what, it's up to the board. So whatever the board's pleasure is, then that's how it'll
Well,
be. And you know what? And so you guys, what you should do, you got so much to say about grants and things, go out there and seek your own grants. Go out there, spend the time and look for grants that are out there, whether it's a business, whether it's the state, whether it's the federal government. This, I've never seen anybody even look for a grant ever. So you know what? That's how it is. So,
Well, speaking for myself, I mean, I think it's a creative idea. I think it has a potential to be a great thing in the village. I thought there were a couple of practical questions. That's why I'm asking about
okay.
the substrate being flat and how long it takes to set it up. There are some practical questions. We can't deny that. But I love that it's a creative idea and I think it has a potential to be a nice thing. We have to take care of it and figure it all out. And, there's going to be some, logistics and things to figure out, but I'm all for trying to do something new that could create some interest.
Any
So-
other comments? Because we'll take the vote and where it ends up, it ends up. Okay. All right, so on a motion to purchase, and Marcus, you did go through the funds again. We do have the funds available. Cindy, the funds are still available.
Yes, they are.
Thank you.
So Mayor, there is no taxpayer money being used on this product.
No, nope. It's all grant money.
Okay.
So on a motion to
moved.
purchase, I'm sorry, is there anything else, Nick, you'd like to say?
We did the no, that wasn't me. We did.
Oh,
the
okay, it was on
motion.
a
I think
question.
We did the
Thank
motion
you.
in second already.
I appreciate it. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed?
All right, thank you, Sean. Okay, I'm going
I didn't
in.
hear, Anthony, how did you vote on that? I didn't hear.
I said aye.
Okay, thank you. And Anthony, we're putting you out there to teach the kids how to skate. Thank you for volunteering.
I'm not a good ice skater.
Well, I can't do it now for a
Being I have
while.
so many kids, I probably find some time.
Yes, you'll be fine. All right, I did add on another item under O. And I am sorry. Okay, so here I am. I'm sorry. There's just, you know what? Our meetings are just so busy. We have so much work we've done here and so much going on. So they're not just 20-minute meetings. So under O, this is a change order for Allen Industries. So remember I gotten the grant from Senator Harkin for $125,000. It took a long time. COVID came along. There were a lot of issues getting the money. The money finally came in. Make a long story short, unfortunately, prices went up. And with inflation and shortage of things, of course, the price was going to go up. So there is a change order regarding the roof column work. The price is not to exceed $96,000. The change order for Zula electric work is $27,900. George Palmer has been involved in this, and the original bid, so you know the difference here, was $57,617 and $15,600 for the column. So originally the cost was 73,600. And that's just for that. Now it's 96,000. So that's how much the difference is in the last couple of years. Zula Electric, they were at 26,000. Their prices did not go up that much. They're at 27,900. So what we have here now, the total cost now, and it's still under the budget and still under the money, is $123,827.47. So we're still under the grant of 125,000. So it brings us, real close to that. And like I said, the grant was received from Senator Harcum. He's been pretty decent to the village. And then we have a grant match, which is 10%, which would be 12,500. So the total of this project is 137,500. I've asked Marcus, do we have that 12,500 in contingency? And Marcus, you said we do have that.
Correct, yes.
All right. You know what? That pavilion is probably one of the things that those people were talking about. Like, when you think about the Village of Buchanan, what do you think about? The pavilion is one of those huge assets that we have. And if we don't maintain it and keep it repaired and take care of it, I'm telling you, I'm sure it's multi-million dollars now to replace that pavilion. So over the years, we've gotten some grant money and we've done whatever we needed to do to upgrade it, to repair it, whatever work needed to be done. So this is a long-awaited project here, and I can't wait for them to start. We will work around everything. The contractor is aware that we potentially were getting a ice skating rink, so he's aware of working around that. So I just think this is, one of those win-wins for the village where we don't have to use taxpayer dollars, but we can repair and upgrade our pavilion, which is so important to all of us. So I'd like to make a motion for change order for Allen Industries regarding the roof column, price not to exceed $96,003. And also the change order for Zula Electric from 26,000 to 27,900. And Marcus, do I have to include the matching grant of 10% in this motion?
No, that's all part of the grant approval. So that was covered when we got the grant 3 years ago.
Okay, perfect. So on a motion to accept?
So moved.
Second.
Okay,
Second.
sure. On a question?
Nope.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you. All right, so let's go to the report. We do have to go into an executive session over an item, so let me just go through the reports here quickly. Whoops, sorry. Okay, so we have the police report, November 2021, received and filed. I want to thank again the police chief for the rollout of the COVID test kits. And also a couple of days later, we had the KN95 mask rollout, very smooth. People were appreciative. Cindy and Sharon in the office, thank you very much for your support in getting this done also. And also we had some highway people that helped out with that. So it was very smooth, didn't take a long time. And anybody, Cindy, there's still some KN95 mask available. So if anybody hasn't gotten them, that's a village resident, if you want to call Village Hall to see if you can get a package of 5. We have the highway report.
Teresa?
I'm sorry,
go
yes.
back to
and
the
you're-
Police
Yes, sir.
report. I'd like to, general report on November 10th,
Mhm.
2021. 10:06 a.m. Sergeant Palmiero received a report of damage done to 2 vehicles at residents in the village. Sergeant Palmiero began an investigation. Through the investigation, a suspect was identified and subsequently arrested for 2 counts of criminal mischief. On November 14th, 2021, at approximately 2:40 a.m., Officer Tiernan received a complaint for a possible domestic dispute at a village residence. Officer Tiernan responded and was able to determine that nothing criminal occurred. All parties advised of available resources. No further incidents reported. May I comment that that's one of the worst things our officer has to get involved in is domestic disputes. On November 23rd, 2021, approximately 8:20, Officer Buddy responded to assist a village resident who was locked out of their house. Officer Buddy was able to quickly assist in gaining access for the resident. I did not know that Officer Buddy was good with getting into houses without keys. On November 30th, 2021, approximately 3:40, Officer Tiernan responded to a civil complaint at a local business. Officer Tiernan was able to de-escalate the situation, provide information to all parties involved. No further incidents reported. Again, another difficult thing for a police officer to get involved in. I'd like to point out on the police report, there down in the lower right-hand corner, about 22 traffic tickets for unregistered and no license, which I think we see a lot driving around, people on these four-wheel things and the two-wheel things that don't belong on our roads. So I want to commend them for that. And lastly, on the police thing, I was in contact, the chief contacted me about the EAP program. I had spoken to him when I first became liaison with that. And I said that was something I was really interested in, and he was even more interested in it. So he's found out that it would cost through Westchester County approximately $40 per person for the EAP. So I'm going to encourage that be put at the next meeting to approve that. I think it's money well worth spent, because the problem always with law enforcement is they have a hard time realizing that they need help. And I think having their own EAP to go to without having to go sort out something, they have a phone number to call. It's a much easier thing, and it's good for everybody. It also covers problems they might be having within their family, and EAP people can also direct them to other resources that may have nothing to do with their job, but there's a difficulty at home. So I'd like everybody to think about that. And at the next
Can we put
meeting.
that on the agenda so that we can put that on the February meeting? And that's $40 per person
Right.
per year.
Right, for the year, right.
Okay, well, geez, yeah. That's a
Yeah, and it
no-brainer.
might be something you want to consider, down the road. Let's do it first with the police, but if down the road, if it's, to me, it's a very reasonable cost for other employees, but we can talk about that.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Thank
no,
you.
absolutely. Thanks, Rich. And Rich is the liaison to the police department. Highway report, Bob Wheeler's still on for November. The bag leaves almost 8 tons. Bulk pickup, dumpsters, and everything else. Oh my gosh, that's like almost 15 tons. Household trash, wow, that's like 90 tons. One thing I do want to bring everybody's attention to, Bob was able to install the light poles around the village circle. So Bob, those are the ones on Westchester Avenue. Oh my gosh, there's 6 or 7 there as you're going towards Verplank on Westchester Avenue on the right side. What I wanted everyone to know is those were ordered last February and they were finally installed in November. Nothing against the highway department, but this is what's happening getting materials. It takes so long to get these materials. So we finally got it. We finally were able to get the electrician to install it. So thank you, Bob. They're all working, right? Oh, Bob's on mute. Also the highway department.
Yes, they are working.
Yes, that's what we want to hear after all that time. You guys also hung the speed signs on Westchester. You already did Tate Avenue. You've hung the ones on Westchester, and those were the ones that you were able to get from, donated from Holtec. So thank you very much. And one thing I'm so happy about is the Monroe Park finally has an American flag. So there's finally an American flag out of the circle. It looks great, Bob. Thank you very much for doing that. Much appreciated. I love it.
You're welcome.
Wastewater.
Teresa,
Yes,
may
sir.
I interject one thing here? I want to say that outside here on Kings Ferry Road, on this side, the Buchanan side of the yellow line, there is developing a fairly bad pothole right in front of my
Yeah, I've
house.
hit that a few times.
Oh,
Yeah, I
that's-
mean, I think it's going to get to the point where it's might damage somebody's rim or what have you.
Oh, it's that bad. Now that's,
Yeah.
the town takes care of that road, doesn't it?
I
I know it's
don't,
in the village. All right.
I don't know which way it goes, yeah.
Yeah, I've hit that hole a few times.
Village
Yeah.
stop at the sidewalk.
Okay, it stops at the sidewalk. Okay. Because I know the town they have that little machine that goes on the sidewalk that clears the sidewalk, that whole strip to the library and everything.
Mhm.
Remember a few years back when they were putting in new sidewalks, they had a grant to go along Kings Ferry Road. We had to grant them permission, if I remember. I could be wrong. It's just off the top of my head. But
Okay, yeah, let's, Marcus, could you? who would you call?
I think Bob wanted to say something. Bob? I
Oh,
think-
sure. I'm sorry,
I
Bob.
was just gonna say, if it's on Kingsbury Road, it is the town of Cortland's responsibility. I can make a phone call to the individual I know that I need to take care of that.
All right,
Okay,
perfect.
thank you, Bob.
Good, thank you. So wastewater, there's treated water was 8,747 gallons, and the sludge removal, which is the end product, was 84,000 gallons. Everything is working well over there. Also, building department, we still have our building inspector on the line. I see there were quite a few permits issued. Thank you for doing this report. So, this is important. The board gets to see, what's going on, what's happening, and also certificate of occupancies issued. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And then the other one is Buchanan Engine Company, their report. I did have it here, so, okay, let's see. I like people to know the EMS assists were 9. And this is for November. Oh, I must be on one of the EMS assists then. Mutual aid 4. Okay, thank you. And then the last we have, which I really like, Marcus, I like all these reports, which is great because it really keeps the board up to speed on everything, is the prosecutor's report as of December 30th, 2021. Attorney's report. Stephanie Porteous, do you have anything for us this evening?
I have nothing for you except an executive session, thanks.
Okay, good, thank you. Yes, we need to definitely go into executive session. Administrator's report, Marcus, what do you have for us this evening?
Oh, just a couple of quick things. Route 9A sidewalk, we talked about the pavilion, but Route 9A sidewalk, we're still working on that grant. There was some documentation the state needed from Han Engineering. Han submitted that, Han submitted that information to the state. We have not heard back. We check every week to see any updates, no update on that yet. So that's still in the holding pattern. The grant was awarded. It's just going through all the legal documentation they require.
Yeah, they're tough getting money out of them. They approve it and it takes a long time to get it. So, but thank you guys for staying on top of that.
No problem. Also, I informed the board, Con Edison is planning to do a gas main replacement from Lindsay to Ketchum on Tate Avenue. They're gonna go down Ketchum, I think to Church Street. They're planning to start work on that on January 10th. And the work is planned to be completed on March 18th. Of course, everything's weather contingent. The only good news about this is that I mandated and they agreed to mill and pave from curb to curb.
Thank you.
The entire road will be done.
Thank you.
They're also paying the additional fee that the board worked on to cover any kind of George's cost as well. So that's
Good.
covered. Also, I requested and they added in the plan to put a tap on for the village hall for the future. If we switch, wherever we want to put gas and switch to gas, they're going to put a tap in for us as well. That'll save us some money if we switch
Sure.
over to gas as well.
Thank
So,
you. Good job.
Yes,
Good
I want to
job.
provide you an update on that. So I know
Wonderful.
Teresa, you might want to send out a code red by the end of the week. I've
Yeah,
asked-
I'm gonna do that for Friday, just to make sure, because they should give us final confirmation. They're starting on Monday. There's also another code red. When I do my report, the St. Christopher's Church is having one of their parades on January 9th. So I just want the residents to know that, if they have to get in or out, it doesn't take long for them to do their parade, but I don't want anybody to be held up by the parade. So if they know ahead of time, it's just easier for them to plan.
Yep, so I asked Congress to confirm by Thursday or Friday, the work will commence on January 10th, and I'll let you know as well. So that's, and then it's on the web, we put the information on the website already, and then when we get a confirmation, we'll send an email blast out and we'll put it on Facebook as well.
Good.
Okay, that's all I
Thank
have.
you.
Thank you.
And thank you, because when I first read that, I get so upset, because we do the roads over, we want the roads to look nice. And we did like that huge stretch of Tate Avenue. We did, oh my gosh, we did Ketchum over. And when I heard that, I was like, oh my God, do these people just look for the freshly paved roads to do? So I always get upset, but you made me happy now. Thank you. I appreciate it. Doesn't take much to make me happy. Thank you. What else do you have for us, Marcus?
That's it. Thank you so much.
Okay. And we did get more of official notification with the WQIP grant that was put in on 7/31. We were awarded $1.6 million, and that is a state grant. And we did not receive the full amount that we had originally asked for in the WQIP, which was about 5.6 million. But we are still, it's enough. The money that we got is enough to address the DEC concerns. So that will take care of that. We are still working through the Entergy, and the board is apprised of this, the community and environmental funds that we are trying to use for our sewer treatment plant. And so the board knows Trustee Zachary, myself, and Marcus will be meeting with the supervisor, the town supervisor, the new supervisor, Rich Becker, tomorrow. And we will report back on what happens there. One other thing I want the residents, and I can't believe sometimes I shake my head, but Port Cortland, as we all remember, was the big windmill manufacturing place, and they have not gone away. They have not approached me formally whatsoever. They have not approached Holtec formally, but they are very interested in where Unit 3 was the training building, the Unit 3 entrance. They're interested, I forget, it's 40 or 50 acres, what I heard. They're interested in putting their manufacturing facility there. And they are also planning on the town property using their a port over by the on their property off of there to ship this. So I just wanted everyone to be aware. I will keep you updated on that. My thoughts are not positive on that. They're coming out with all these different kind of numbers of, potential 500 jobs, the tax. I mean, the board can speak to them, but I think it'll just be informational because we don't want to get ourselves into a situation where we suddenly have something that we're not sure about here. So, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, these people just don't go away. And members of the town board thought it would be wonderful if that's where this went on our property. So I told them my displeasure with that, but we'll work through whatever we need to work through. That's fine.
Teresa, what they're looking for 50 acres. What portion of the IP property?
So it would be where the Unit 3 entrance is. So it would be next to the wallboard. I get in trouble every time I say sheetrock.
Next to
the one that
formerly
keeps changing.
Continental,
Yes.
formerly Georgia
Yeah.
Pacific,
The one that keeps changing
formerly
names.
Lafarge.
So
Who
it would
is
be
it
the
now?
property. It would be the
I can't keep
property.
track
I
of
don't
who they
know.
are anymore.
It would be the property next to that, and that's also the area where the 42-inch pipeline comes through.
Just north of the quarry.
Yes, yeah, just past the wallboard plant. So
Yeah.
they have expressed an interest. They're hoping to get approval by April, and I'm like, okay. So yeah, just wanted to let you guys know in case you heard something about it. And yeah, so That's what's happening over there on that piece of property. And they have not contacted, which I found quite interesting. They not only not contacted us, but they have not contacted Holtec. I said, well, maybe it would be a good idea if you contacted the property owner to see if they were interested in that. So I don't know where this is going to go, but I just want to put that out there for everyone. Okay. Trustee Zachary, you look like you're ready to go.
Ready to go. So let's see, I will, the statute of limitations isn't up on saying Happy New Year. When is that exactly? Do you say Happy New Year for the whole month of January? I haven't figured that one out. So Happy New Year, everybody. You know, I hope everybody can make it a good year and that better things are going to happen and that this epidemic eases off and we could, I don't know, the new normal will be a little different, but hopefully it gets closer to what we all miss.
Used to.
You know, I always say, you know, I like this quote I once saw that said, no individual raindrop ever considers itself responsible for the flood. You know, when it rains heavy, the flooding is not caused by one raindrop. It's caused by all the raindrops together. And we each have a little responsibility because each of our actions is small, but together our actions are cumulatively a flood. And right now, what we need is for people that never got vaccinated to get over it and get vaccinated. I heard somebody from Texas on the news saying, the reporter said, well, do you think Texas should mandate vaccines? And he said, no. He said, when you tell a Texan to do something, that's a sure way to make sure they don't do it. And it kind of makes me think that it's more being like a grown-up adolescent than being somebody expressing their personal liberty because, you know, it's like a teenager, clean your room. No. I mean, if that's where we're at, we need to re-examine because the reason that hospitals are still full, the reasons so many people are still getting seriously sick, 90% of the people going into the hospitals now are unvaccinated people. It's just destroying that profession for people who just don't want to, you know, who always gave so much and so many people are leaving. It's having a big impact. So you got to do your share as one raindrop. Get out there, get over yourself and do what's right for the
But I think,
people,
Nick, I
people
think
around you.
we all understand both sides of the issue. You
Oh,
know,
I
I
don't.
think we all
I only
understand. And
understand
I
one
just
side.
think we all need to be respectful of one another and do what
Yeah,
we need to do.
yes, okay. I look at it
Yeah,
differently.
that's
I'm
my
sure,
thoughts. That's all. We all
because-
have different thoughts. That's fine. you know.
Because while I respect people's rights, people don't, I think, have to understand that their actions affect other people.
Sure.
And
All right,
it's-
what else you got for us?
so you know, that's it. I just I got that off my chest
All right,
and that's it.
all right, thank you. Trustee Capicotti, what do you have for us tonight? Oh, you're on mute, Anthony. Whoop, whoop, still on mute.
I'm here
There you
now.
are.
Everyone's actions affect somebody else, whether you're vaccinated or unvaccinated. And it is your choice.
Mhm.
Whether you believe that or not, I believe that it is your choice to be vaccinated or unvaccinated. So moving on from something else, I believe this board should be a little bit more transparent, let's say, in a way that, you know, I went through the couple debates that, Mayor, you've had with Sean and things that have gotten a little, you know, chippy back and forth. I see both your points, and I feel like you know, we got to work together better. Got to work
Well,
together.
I agree with you. I do appreciate that statement, and I think for the benefit of the village, we definitely need to work better together.
Well, Sean's views on the rink were 100% his views. They were right.
Absolutely.
And if the numbers are what they are, and the facts are that, you know, we weren't, and that's why I asked you, were we spending any taxpayer money? And you said no.
No.
You know, if there's no tax money being spent, then I agree with putting something in for the children. I mean, if that's what the money was allocated for, There was 4 other things that were not done, but I feel like if that was allocated for with a person with 5 children, I believe that if it's really the only thing we can get. I mean, freezing the pavilion was great when I was a kid.
Yeah.
We don't get use out of it. You know, I just hope that this ice rink is maintained properly.
Mhm.
The substrate is done properly because the substrate is going to make sure that this thing lasts a long time. If it's put on uneven ground or anything else, it's gonna deteriorate. If it's stored in a facility that is not clean or an area where it's protected, it's gonna deteriorate and it's gonna be a waste of money. And that's where I see what Sean's saying. And he's 100% right.
Okay.
So I feel like this board just needs to get on the same page because a lot of things we talk about, we just keep repeating ourselves. And, it's like, okay, we get your point. Let's vote on it and move on. Let's do something right for the community here.
Agreed.
So other than that, Happy New Year.
Yes, Happy New Year. Happy and healthy New Year.
I just hope that we all can just move forward as a group and get things done for this community.
Yes.
That's why I signed on to this job.
I would like that, Anthony. I'd like that a lot.
All right. Thank you.
One of the things, you weren't on the board previously, but we never had agendas when we had our workshops. So now, before the workshop, there's information that's given out, the agenda's there and the backup documentation. So that's given so that we can have a better flow of conversation when we're talking about different subjects. So that was something when I became mayor, that was important to me to have an agenda for the workshop so that we could have a conversation about certain things. What else you got for us, Anthony?
Well, that's about it. Really, I just want to
Thank
make
you.
that clear. I'm here for the community. I think we all should just buckle down, man. Let's get through this tough times and do it as a group.
Yep, I'm good with that. Thank you. Trustee Murray, what do we have for us tonight?
I appreciate those comments, Anthony. I'll definitely work on that, and I'll limit my comments to only a few seconds. So, one of the things that we had talked about, I attended the municipal officials meeting in Harrison, and I was pretty excited about the way they were excited about public-private partnerships for development in their community to help increase the amount of businesses that they have in their areas. One of the comments that the mayor had made in Harrison was that when he came in, it seemed like most of the residents were paying the taxes and the commercial districts and the businesses weren't. And he worked really hard to switch that around because he knew the benefit of a commercial, industrial, manufacturer, whatever you want to call it, tax base versus a residential tax base, because you really don't have a lot of you don't make money off of residential development. So he was proud of that, and it was pretty exciting. I was looking forward to the next municipal officials meeting, which was to be held in Croton, but apparently it's going remote. So that's a little bit difficult.
Sorry, it's not as fun, when they're like that. It's just a different flow of information, I think, when you're with the other group of representatives. So
one of the things that was brought up was the winter legislative session in Albany. It's going to be on February 13th and 14th, and they have a lot of good things slated on the agenda. One of the best things is at 5:30 on February 13th, because that's when the Super Bowl is. They're going to have a Super Bowl party, and it's going to last obviously the end of the game, and you're going to start back up at 8:15. But Marcus, if you don't have the legislative agenda, I have a copy of it. I can give it to you. It's more geared to policymakers and how you can get federal infrastructure and Investment Jobs Act. It's a lot of laws that were enacted and how to get some money and things like that. So I'll give that to Marcus.
That'll be
Excuse
great.
me,
Thank
Sean,
you.
excuse me, that's NICOM?
Yes.
Yes.
The one in Albany is
That's
NICOM.
the NICOM winter legislative meeting at the Marriott in Albany on February 13th and 14th.
Thank you.
And it covers the Super Bowl and Valentine's Day, so it might be geared towards single people, but
yeah.
The other thing, Nick, I wanted to let you know that I had reviewed the LWRP and I put my comments in your box. I only did the Buchanan section, so it was about 15 pages.
Okay,
Comments. What I did was I kind of like bubbled it and wrote it in margins and stuff like that. I put a copy in your box.
I'll go to the village hall tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah, one of the things that I was a little curious about was that it says that the municipality, in order to enact any of the LWRP recommendations, that we have to pass a waterfront consistency review law to accept the plan. So I think we should be, they had wanted the information in January. Maybe we should be thinking about how that could affect us, the parts that we want to do. I know the timeline is probably expanded.
Right.
Yeah,
It could be a tough time. Now that's, I mean, I know we have to vote to adopt the LWRP. Did you mark that section? Because I'm not sure I remember exactly what that.
It's on the last page. I believe it's section 5 that talks about that. And it also talks about who's to do the coordinating, the mayor and the supervisors, the head of government is to do the coordinating. And it does request that the zoning and planning board be in charge of any planning and zoning issues for those areas.
Okay,
So there are,
all right.
you just look at my comments, maybe we can talk.
I
about
will. I'll pick it up tomorrow. Thanks, Sean.
All right, good. Or we could discuss it at the workshop too, because it was still in January. So we
Yeah.
can all be on the same page and finalize that.
Also, a few months back, Mayor, you had talked about a Jupiter project or a battery project
Mm-hmm.
that you were briefed on. And I don't remember, did you ever forward any of those documents so we could see what they were talking about? Is there any further discussion on that or?
They were supposed to come back. I have not heard from them. Marcus, do you remember what information we received from them? Is basically, I'm trying to think if we had gotten a deck from them or not. That was Jupiter was the battery storage place, the facility. I think also the sheetrock plant was supposed to come back to me with some information. They had wanted to put one of their battery storage facilities on the parking lot in the sheetrock plant. So let me look into that.
Somebody had told me they were talking to some other officials because, as you know, that parcel is not part of the Village Buchanan's fire district, and I think
Right.
I think they're still actively investigating. I just didn't know if there was any other contact or if they wanted to come and talk to us or not. I really don't think they went away, because
Mhm.
power is an issue right now, especially
Yeah.
when it's cold. So if you look at NISO and ISO, it's around $200 a megawatt during peak times in the Northeast. And so I'm sure that there'd be some money to be made there, some future revenue generation.
Yeah, and then, and then the board would have to decide and the community would have to decide if that's something they're interested in having, in the village. And I'm understanding, there's something to look at because I'm understanding some of them are almost dangerous to, if they go out of control or something happens with the batteries, they can't, I don't know. I'm not an engineer, but I understand that they can be dangerous and difficult to stop. It's not just like you put water on in it and stops. So, but that's something we'll have to investigate, if the board is interested in looking at battery storage. But, my only concern is that's nice, but how many? I think that's would be the question. Are you looking to expand completely into the Entergy property, or are you looking to just do 5? So that's a question we can ask.
That's why I'd like to maybe have
Sure.
them come and give the same presentation
Mhm.
or maybe an expanded presentation similar to the one that you might have received. So we can.
Okay.
make it a
Yeah, it was pretty abbreviated, but yeah. Okay, let me put
That's all I
that.
have. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Who do we have? Trustee Funchin, what do you have for us this evening?
Thank you. Happy New Year to everybody. And go along with what Anthony says. I mean, we seem to talk certain things to death. We certainly have know people's opinions on everything that they don't need to be repeated 15 times over. And we should be more cohesive. I'd like to see that. I was at the tree. I had the privilege of being there for you, Mayor, at the
Thank
tree
you, I
lighting.
appreciate it.
It was very nice, and it was a nice evening. Anthony and Sean were there also. So the kids, it was more kids this year than I think I've ever seen at that. And so it was a very nice evening. I also had the privilege of filling in for you to give the thing
The
to
proclamation
Linda.
for
Yes,
Linda. Yeah, I
the
was
proclamation.
disappointed.
Thank you. I
I
couldn't
couldn't
get the
make
word
that.
out. The
That's late.
proclamation to Linda, and I just like to comment to people who might hear this later on, but Linda had done so much for the town of Cortland, and I don't think she has kept the taxes down consistently year after year after year. She is probably totally responsible for all the great parks and open space we have. I think if you drew a circle around New York City, that this area probably is the least populated of a community, which when you think about it, so many people would say when you're standing around some of these parks up here, most people can't believe that you're 30 miles away from the largest city in the country. And also, especially her work with veterans. I thought it was very unique that she brought in a lot of veterans individually, ones that had been in wars, especially to talk about it, especially World War II, the Korean War, the Forgotten War, and Vietnam. And I think it was a catharsis for the people doing it, but it also, because of the horrors of war, we lose a lot of history. And these people are walking history books. And I think what Linda did there, she had it taped and everything. So there was a lot of people giving accolades to her, and she deserved it. And I certainly, she was always very good to me in any format, and in support after 9/11 and everything. So I think that's it. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Rich, and thanks for standing in for me. Much appreciated. And yes, Linda was a very good partner with the Village of Buchanan. We worked well together, and she will be missed. Comments from the floor, because I think I see one person still hanging in there. Eileen, do you have anything for us tonight? She's got her hand raised. Okay, there she is. Thanks for hanging in there.
No, I don't have anything.
Oh, okay. All right. You just want to say Happy New
I
Year.
just hung in. No, I just hung in. Yes. Happy New Year to everybody.
All right,
And,
Eileen, you too.
Happy New
see
Year.
you at the end of the month.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Thanks, Eileen. Okay, so I would like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss a personnel issue.
So moved.
Second, all in
Second.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Aye.
thanks, guys.